Oscar's beginning in Douluo. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76 Dung Beetle. Dean Flender. Xiao Wu's unique way of introduction directly confused Douluo Fiji. He was thinking, when will the famous Dung Beetle Academy come out in Soto City? Is it because he hasn't paid attention to this topic for a long time? And the dean is also called the four-eyed meow bird. What a weird name for trash. Not only Douluo Fiji was dumbfounded, but Frankie, the principal of the Dung Beetle Academy as the protagonist, was also dumbfounded. Xiao Wu's words made him no longer know what his name was, but the name Frankie sounds pretty good. Bah, what a fart. It's good to call me Flender. Xiao Wu is so innocent and cute. It is absolutely impossible to come up with such crooked adjectives. This is definitely taught to her by that brat Oscar. He glared at Oscar with a murderous look in his eyes, which means look at what you have done. Oscar felt really aggrieved. I dare to swear that I only said this sentence once, but it's not my fault that Xiao Wu memorized it all. These four eyes will really wrong a good person. Since you wronged me, then don't blame me. Oscar also pinched his waist with both hands and shouted imposingly, "Waist, if you are sensible, immediately kneel down to Dean Dung Beetle and admit your mistake. Otherwise you will definitely become a waste like your brother Pooh Baichu." Flender's face was dark. "You goddamn bastard. I asked you to introduce me because I want a more grand appearance. How are you guys? Each one is more pitted. How the hell am I the dean of the Dung Beetle?" That's right. The person who came was none other than Flender, the principal of Shrek Academy. Flender finally had some free time to come out today. He came to his small shop after leaving Shrek Academy, but when he got to the shop, he found that there was no ghost. This made him very irritable, and he finally had some spare time and came out to accompany his godson and daughter-in-law, but he didn't see it in the end. It was too bad. Fortunately, he didn't know that Oscar wanted to recognize Bibi Dong as a godmother. If he knew, he would definitely give up the idea of being a godfather. Flender found that Oscar and the others were not in the store, so he didn't need to think about it and knew that it was Xiao Wu who took them out to exercise. So he had a rare leisure time and decided to be unrestrained and unrestrained. So love and hate intertwined. So he came to the Suhubeo store. Since the store opened, he has never been here. So today he decided to come here alone to taste whether the buns here are fragrant, sweet or not, salty or not, white or not, big or not, juicy or not, delicious or not. And when he walked in, all his beautiful scenes before disappeared because he saw Oscar and Xiao Wu. His first reaction was that Xiao Wu brought them here to exercise. Is this for exercise and refeeding? And in the next second, he saw Douluo Fiji holding a big gun, trying to poke his godson. He hastily rushed in front of Oscar and reached out to catch Douluo Huaji's golden gun. He didn't even bother to release his martial spirit for this brat because Douluo Huaji was too weak, so weak that he didn't even have the desire to do it. For Douluo Fiji, Flender's appearance is so cool, but for Oscar, it's just you blocking me. I obviously wanted to blow him away with a frying pan, but in the end, you, the four-eyed man, got there first. I really don't come early, I don't come late, I have to come when I have to pretend. He finally had the chance to play with Flender, and of course he would not let it go, so he began to call him Dean Dung Beetle. Dean Dung Beetle's expression now looks like he just rolled over a ball of dung, which is particularly stinky. He was very dissatisfied with Oscar and Xiao Wu's introduction, so he could only pat his chest and introduce himself again. "I'm Flender of the Four-Eyed Owl." Flender's introduction was concise because he believed that with his name, he would definitely shock this kid. After hearing his self-introduction, Douluo Fiji's expression made Flender very helpful. Douluo Fiji stretched out his big fat finger to Flender and said tremblingly, You are Shrek Academy Dean Flender? That's right, it's me. Flender said with his hands behind his back. Douluo Fiji changed his fearful expression in an instant and said with a chubby smile, "So it's Uncle Fu. My father often told me about you, saying that you are imposing, talented, well-educated, and well-educated. What an upright and good dean. Flender nodded and said, oh then tell Uncle FR which of your father said it? Luo Fiji said in astonishment. Flender continued to ask, which father of yours said I asked you? Luo Fiji replied, Uncle Fu, you really know how to joke. Of course it's my own father Luo Tangji. Uncle Fu, you are busy first. My dad told me to go home for dinner. Goodbye. After he finished speaking, he quickly bypassed Flender and ran towards the door again. But how could Flender let him go so easily? Flender just caught up with him in the blink of an eye, and Flender stretched out his hand to stop his footsteps and said playfully, I'm talking about a waste machine, isn't it just a dinner? I just treat you, don't rush away. Luo Fiji swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said, Uncle Fu, you don't know something. Our family eats together, and there is no one who eats badly. Let me treat you another day. Flender smirked and said, alright then. Then let's move on to another day. When Luo Fiji heard Flender's words, it was as if he heard the voice of heaven, and Flender actually let him go. He didn't even say a word, and with his head bowed, he was about to pass through Flender's arm with big strides. At this moment, Flender made a move. He raised his right foot, aimed at Luo Vestige's crotch, and kicked it. Although Luo Fiji noticed Flender's movements, his speed was not as fast as Flender's, and he could only watch Flender's foot kick him in the crotch. Big brother, what kind of sound do you hear? Xiao Wu asked suspiciously, while supporting her little ears. Oscar tightened his legs, and replied with a shiver, this is the sound of two yolks breaking. Under Flender's kick, Luo Waist-G finally turned into a waist chicken. After screaming, Luo Waist-G passed out from the pain. This kind of pain is more painful than scraping the bone to heal the wound, not to mention that he is a young child. Even an adult can't bear this kind of pain. Flender was not confident about his kick just now, so he raised his foot and kicked it a few more times. Oscar believes that Luo Fiji's chicken must be useless, and both fried dough sticks and eggs are useless. After kicking, Flender came to Oscar's side. He asked suspiciously, why did you come to this ghost place? It's really hard for me to find. By the way, where is Leo Zhao? Why didn't he talk to you? How are you together? Ask for a ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 77. Flender. Lovers become brothers and sisters. Flender's words were quite level. In this sentence, he directly explained why he appeared here. I said that I found you with great effort. You can't just ask me why I appear here. But Oscar often doesn't play cards according to the routine, and Oscar feels that something is wrong with Flender. Because he is a very lazy person, he actually asked 3 questions in a row just now. There must be something tricky in it. He didn't come here to eat big buns, did he? Oscar questioned. Four-eyed uncle, how did you just find this place? The corner of Flender's mouth twitched. This little Oscar's reflex arc is really unusually big. In this way, we can plan to the key position. Flender's eyes were a little erratic, and he quickly explained, it took me a long time to find you. Please tell me where Leo Zhao has gone. Why did he leave you two here alone? After hearing Flender's questioning again, Oscar was even more sure that he had something tricky. It seemed that he couldn't bear the feeling of loneliness and emptiness either. Oscar blinked his eyes and said playfully, Uncle Four Eyes, why did you come to this kind of place to find us? Flender looked at this little devil's big Oscar, which gave him a headache. This little Oscar deliberately wanted to embarrass him. At this moment, in order to remove his suspicions, he had no choice but to sell his teammates. He whispered to Oscar, because old Zhao often comes to this kind of place. I found that you were not in the shop, so I went to his favorite Rose Hotel first, then went to his favorite massage shop, and finally I just came here, and I'm really exhausted. Fortunately, I came in time, or your life would be gone. Oscar felt very funny listening to his nonsense, but he didn't tease him anymore, but nodded and said, oh. Flender felt he would be pissed off talking to Oscar, so he switched to someone else. He came to Xiao Wu's side and asked Xiao Wu with what he thought was amiable expression, Xiao Wu, tell Uncle Four Eyes, where has Uncle Fatty gone? Why did he leave you two here? Xiao Wu shook her head and said, Uncle Chubby, he didn't leave us here. Flender blinked. Gone. What's next? Why don't you talk about it? For telling what will happen next, please listen to the next episode. Is there no decomposition? It broke so suddenly. By the way, didn't I ask 2 questions? Why do they always avoid my question of where Aowalki is? Is there something tricky in this? He laughed again and said, Xiaowu, tell me where Uncle Chubby went? Xiaowu shook her head with a tangled expression, which made Flender very confused. What exactly was Aowalki doing, which made Xiaowu tangled up like this? Xiaowu looked at Oscar at the side, and then they nodded to each other, as if they had made up their minds. They pointed their hands in the same direction at the same time and said, look there, look there, look there. Flender looked in the direction of their fingers, but he still didn't see anything. It's just a group of scantily clad women surrounded by something. By the way, these buns are really big and white. It seems that the rumors are true, but I don't know how the buns taste. I really want to try it. Although he really wanted to try it in his heart, he still had to behave decently on the surface, especially in front of the 2 children. He must play a good leading role. Flender pointed to the group of women and asked suspiciously, how can there be? Isn't it just a group of Rouge Vulgar fans? After he finished saying this, the women in the outermost corner of the circle all looked back at him with hatred, which made Flender shout in his heart, it's over before I can eat buns. I provoked a group of people. These people will definitely remember me in the future. If I want to secretly come to eat buns, it will be difficult to realize, because they may not give me to eat. Alas, it seems that fate should be like this. Draw a circle and curse that all those who eat baozi and those who are eaten baozi will become brothers and sisters. Don't underestimate Flender's curse. His curse is very effective. The best and most classic example is Yu Xiao Gang and Liu Erlang. Liu Erlang is the woman he has always liked, but she ended up dating his brother Yu Xiao Gang. Although he blessed them silently on the surface, he felt very uncomfortable in his heart. That is, on the day they got married, he drew a circle and cursed that their lovers would eventually become brothers and sisters. Sure enough, his curse was fulfilled that day, which made him a little at a loss, but this secret was buried in his heart all the time, and he dared not tell others, because he was afraid of being beaten. Although he was cursing, it was just talking. He didn't believe that the curse would work this time. After hearing what Flender said, Oscar continued, Uncle Chubby is at the bottom. These big sisters are wrapping him up. Fuck. Flender's eyes widened in an instant, and he breathed out a fragrant voice. What kind of blessings did this Aowuji cultivate in his previous life? Unexpectedly dozens of women scrambled to wrap him up. Flender pointed his hand towards the sky and shouted angrily, you bastards, let go of my brother quickly and replace me. After finishing speaking, he rushed into the encirclement. Although Flender was prepared in his heart, he was still amazed by the scene inside. I saw Aowalki lying flat on the ground. The woman beside him was pressing his arms and legs. Of course they were controlling him and preventing him from getting up. And 2 women sat on him in order to prevent him from suddenly getting violent. And Aowalki's mouth was also gagged. As for what to gag, of course it was white, big, and soft. Big bun. Aowuji was an upright man. When had he been so passive? So he struggled fiercely, wanting to get out of their control. But these women are not easy to use. In order to prevent him from getting up, they all pressed Aowuji's limbs with their bodies. As soon as Aowuji struggled, they pressed down hard. The cooperation was quite tacit. Aowuji began to struggle violently. This is how Aowalki stood up, and they sat down quickly and regularly. As time went by, they were already tired and sweated, and the sweat soaked through their clothes, and Aowalki's clothes were even more wet, and his body also exuded a fishy smell of seafood. Their current scene is really too fragrant. And what Flender saw after entering the circle was such a scene. He was stunned for a long time. This Aowuji was hit by the pie falling from the sky. No wonder he didn't get up to protect Oscar and Xiaowu. It turned out that he was subdued by someone. Woo woo woo, but I exchanged tickets carefully. End of this chapter. Chapter 78, Red High Heels on Fat Meat. Although Flender really wanted to do this kind of action, the women around him ignored him at all, let alone playing horse riding with him. Aowuji really couldn't resist the oppression of so many ordinary people, so since he couldn't resist, he might as well enjoy it. He closes his eyes and feels the temperature from all parts of his body. Some are cold and gradually become hot, and some are directly hot. It's so delicious. This place really deserves to be called Suhubao. When Flender saw Aozhou like this, he immediately burst into anger on the spot, and he grabbed the group of waiters with his big hands. But even though he captured one, there will be another one rushing towards him again. This scene can really be described as one after another. It's just that these waiters still think it's fun, and they make pleasant voices one by one. This pissed off Flender. Why didn't I get the treatment that Aozhou did? He really had no choice but to smash the jar. Anyway, the crispy tiger bun would not be able to be opened anymore, so he just yelled, "Hey, I'll tell you to sweep the girls. Do you dare to agree?" This has no effect. Who can talk to him if he calls a sweeping lady? He continued to growl, "You group of monsters dare to bully my brother. I will fight with you." While after yelling this sentence, he rushed towards the group of big buns. His action looked like an animal. What did he look like? It's like a hungry dog seeing a meat bun. It's really appropriate to describe his current actions as a hungry dog rushing for food. And the moment he rushed over, these big buns unexpectedly quickly avoided him, leaving Aozhou alone on the ground. Flender is confused. Do they dislike me so much? The bun that is about to arrive in your mouth flies. When Flender threw himself on Aozhou's body, Aozhou woke up suddenly from the pain. He blinked his two bull eyes and looked at Flender's approaching face. Why could he see Flender's face? Because Flender happened to be lying on Aozhou's body in all directions. They stared wide-eyed, and the bastard saw Mengdao's eyes. "Dean Flender? Why are you here? Are you here to eat buns?" Aozhou shouted in surprise. Flender pushed his hands hard, and an old man turned over and stood up. He said in embarrassment, "Ahem, I'm here to save you. You are so easy for me to find." "Oh, came to save us?" Aozhou said in a strange way. Flender stopped talking to Aozhou, but said to the big buns around him with his hands behind his back, "You are free now. Your boss Luo has been abolished by me, and no one will give you your salary now. It's over. Let's go now. Don't thank me anymore. Go find a good man to marry." After he finished saying this, he thought that these women would be grateful to him, but he found that it was not what he thought. These women all hated him with their big eyes, looking at him as if they had taken away their husbands. This made Flender very puzzled. "I did a good deed. I turned them all into free bodies. Not only did they not say thank you, they even looked at him like an enemy." This made Flender feel very aggrieved. How does he know the thoughts and needs of these girls? These girls are all born in poor families. They come to work at Suhubao to escape poverty and transform into rich and powerful people. They want to be masters. But these four eyes actually ruined their chances. As the saying goes, cutting off people's wealth is like killing their parents. Flender has killed their chance to escape from the sea of suffering. How can they not hate Flender? If eyes could kill, Flender would have died more than 10,000 times by now. Flender was terrified when he saw the girls who were going to eat him. He looked up to the sky and shouted, "Little Oscar, Aozhou, run." After he yelled this sentence, he quickly ran towards the door, even ignoring Aozhou beside him. And the Oscar and Aozhou he was yelling at had already run out the door, because Oscar felt that with Flender's character, he would definitely do something offensive. Sure enough, as he expected, Flender provoked all these big buns. Oscar sensed that something was wrong and dragged Aozhou to run outside to hide. Oscar and Aozhou hid behind the plaque next to the door, watching the situation inside secretly. Before they could react, Flender and Aozhou were launched like rockets. Whoosh, whoosh, the two of them ran out in front of Oscar's eyes, and the girls who followed them also ran out. Their posture was really terrifying, like a group of caged chickens were suddenly released, chasing after Flender and Aozhou. Looking at the group of chickens, Oscar recognized me and spit out a fragrant word. Fuck, Aozhou said mischievously from the side. Oscar looked embarrassed, and he decided to never say shit again. This is too easy to spoil Aozhou. After Oscar lost everyone, he dragged Aozhou into the crispy tiger bun, because there was one thing he had to do. He dragged Aozhou to the front of Luo who was lying motionless on the ground. Luo is really miserable now. Not only was he kicked to death by Flender, but he was also trampled all over by the later waiters. Now his body is full of shoes and shoe marks. Why do you say shoes and shoe prints? Because when these waiters ran over, they walked all over Luo's body, leaving a bunch of shoe marks. As for the shoes, that's because these shoes are all red high-heeled shoes, and the soles of the shoes are very high. When they stepped on Luo Fiji's body, their heels would sink into Luo Fiji's thick flesh. Where can they care about their shoes? When they are in a hurry, they have no idea that their shoes have been lost. Oscar looked at the miserable Luo Fiji and sighed. How should I describe you? The most appropriate what can be compared with you to be considered special. Xiao Wu applauded from the side. Big brother, you sing really well. What's the name of this song? Oscar replied. The song is called Red Heels on Fat. Oh, the title of this song is so long and special. Big brother, why are we coming back? Xiao Wu asked curiously, tilting her head. Oscar said softly, because he was going to kill Big Brother just now, so Big Brother is going to come back and kill him. Xiao Wu waved her fist fiercely and said, well, he bullied Big Brother. Xiao Wu wants to kill him too. Ask for a recommendation ticket. Ask for a recommendation ticket. Ask for a recommendation ticket. The important thing must be said 3 times. End of this chapter. Chapter 79. The secretary has something to do. Nothing. After saying this, Xiao Wu raised her little foot and kicked Luo Fiji's head. But her small feet are still a bit small compared to Luo Fiji's big head, and her fragrant feet are just a miniature shoe print added to Luo Fiji's chubby face. Xiao Wu found that her little feet were useless, so she stretched out her little hand to Oscar and said, Big brother Xiao Wu wants to kill him. You give Xiao Wu the blame, and Xiao Wu wants to beat him to death with one pot. Xiao Wu, it doesn't need to be that troublesome to kill him, as long as we pull out all the high heels on his body. Oscar said viciously with the corner of his mouth twisted. Big brother, you said he would die if we pulled up his high heels? Xiao Wu asked blankly. That's right, it's like pulling a carrot, Oscar said with a gentle smile. Xiao Wu's eyes gleamed and said, Xiao Wu wants to pull carrots. Xiao Wu likes pulling carrots the most. So Oscar and the others began to pull out carrots. PFFT 1 pull and 1 spray. Xiao Wu was startled by this little spray, so scared that she blocked it with her high heels again. PFFT 1 attack and 1 attack. Xiao Wu was very vicious in attacking his big brother's killer, so she was going to do it all over again. And when she pulled out the second one, someone nearby shouted, Stop! Let go of that high heel. Oscar and Xiao Wu looked at the source of the sound, and they found 2 waiters. Although these 2 waiters are dressed the same as the other waiters, their temperament is quite different from the other waiters. Their temperament is like a personal secretary. As the saying goes, if you have something to do with the secretary, it's alright. These 2 waiters are not ordinary waiters, because they are the secretary sent by Luo Tangji to protect Luo Fiji. These 2 secretaries were selected by Luo Fiji himself. The reason why Luo Fiji chose them as secretaries was not because of their strength or ability. It's because the 2 of them are girls, and they are still young, beautiful, and eye-catching, and the most important thing is that they are very obedient and obedient. The fact that the 2 of them could sleep with him was something that other male and female secretaries could not do. Since the 2 of them are very young, their strength is naturally appalling. Their strength is only slightly stronger than Luo Fiji, and they are both soul masters of more than 10 levels. And the reason why Luo Tangji arranged for these 2 girls to be her bodyguards and secretaries was also because of Luo Fiji's repeated requests. Of course, the way of request was to cry, make trouble, and hang himself from the 4-self palace. Luo Tangji also compromised after careful consideration. He thought so. His son is very good. He never leaves Suocho City, and Suocho City is completely his territory, and the safety factor is absolutely star-studded. So it doesn't matter whether you are worthy of a bodyguard or not, you can find 2 secretaries if you want. But Luo Tangji didn't know a truth. That is, the safest place was also the most dangerous place. Although it was safe in Soto City, it would make them relax their vigilance, and they couldn't predict when the danger would come. These 2 vase secretaries are completely useless things, so they didn't stand up to protect Luo Fiji before. As secretaries, they should of course cherish their young lives. Zhao Walqi and Flender are both soul sages. What does life and death have to do with the 2 of us? When the 2 of them were beaten by Luo Fiji, they quickly went to Zhao Walqi's side, and they actively pretended to be ordinary waiters. The hottest feeling Zhao Walqi felt was the 2 of them's Baozia. But when the waiters were chasing Flender and Zhao Wuji, the two of them stayed behind. In order to prevent Flender and the others from turning back suddenly, the two of them hid in a room first. They were in pain and sad while hiding in the room. Because they saw Luo Fiji dying in misery, they knew that their jobs were about to be lost, and maybe their lives were about to be lost too. But they didn't dare to run away, because they couldn't run away at all. With the strength of Luo Tangji and Pukai, they would definitely be caught before they ran out of Suocho City. So they had no choice but to wait in the room. They spent their days waiting like years. The few seconds seemed as long as they slept with Luo Tangji. That's right, it was Luo Tangji. But instead of Flender and Zhao Wuji, they waited for Oscar and Zhao Wu. The appearance of Oscar and Zhao Wu made them ecstatic. Because the two of them can take the two children back to do business, then the two of them won't have to die. At most they will just suffer a fat meal. For their safety, they still didn't go out quickly. They were afraid that Flender and Zhao Wuji would follow behind, so they waited and watched for a while. At this moment, they have a sufficient understanding of these two children. That is, although the two children are cuter than the other, their hearts are really cruel. Treating Luo Fiji like killing a chicken, they actually started to bleed, and they got goosebumps all over in horror when they saw this scene. Fortunately, the two of them are little brats. If these two soul masters, they wouldn't dare to go out if they were killed. After the two of them came out of the room, they stopped Oscar and Zhao Wu, but Oscar and Zhao Wu only glanced at them, but did not stop, but continued to pull the carrots. This made the faces of the two beautiful secretaries very gloomy. They couldn't save Luo Fiji before, because the opponent was too strong, but now they are just two little kids. The most angry thing was that these two little kids ignored the two of them. They had to save Luo Fiji now, or Luo Fiji would really die. They didn't care if it was a child or not. The two of them immediately released their martial souls. Their strength is soul masters, and their martial souls are unsurprisingly beast martial souls, because only female soul masters with beast martial souls can make the father and son of the Luo family share common preferences. Their beast spirits are also very common, because one is a barbar sheep spirit and the other is the bearded mouse spirit. After they released their martial souls, their appearances also changed rapidly. One had two small horns, and was covered with a layer of white curly fluff. The most important thing was that there were two sixes beside her face. The white sideburns make people look at her and want to conquer her. The appearance of the other secretary is also covered with a layer of white hair, but her hair is very smooth, but her face is indeed very special. There are 3 mustaches on both sides of the original all face, making her people look like wisps. And around each of them is a white soul ring. Ask for a ticket. Thank you. End of this chapter. Chapter 8 is IOW-039, S-Waste Skill. These two big secrets released their own beast spirits. They really have their own characteristics, and each has a charm that makes people unbearable to think about it. Coupled with the white transparent silk cloth that wraps their bodies, which is not much, it couldn't be more attractive. Not to mention others, even the pure and clean Oscar couldn't bear it, let alone the father and son of the Luo family. This made Oscar couldn't help but feel a little excited when he saw it. These two secretaries are really suitable to be raised as small pets. This Luo waste machine is really good at playing. It's a pity that they are already multi-handed, otherwise Oscar would definitely recognize them as god sisters. After the two big secrets released their martial spirits, they didn't intend to show mercy to Oscar and Zhao Wu. If they showed mercy, their lives would be in danger. Barbar Sheep rushed towards Oscar after releasing her martial spirit. Because of her martial spirit, her speed was extremely fast, but she came to Oscar's side in the blink of an eye, and she kicked towards Oscar with her feet. Oscar's little face and the speed of the Shushu secretary was not much worse than that of the bleating sheep. She also quickly came to Zhao Wu's side, and she grabbed Zhao Wu's body with her sharp claws. Their division of labor is very clear. That is, one person will deal with a quick solution to the battle, and then they can bring the dying Luo waste machine home, and if it is delayed, he will really die. The two of them thought that with the strength of their soul masters, they could kill these two brats instantly. Because these two little kids are really too young, they definitely haven't awakened their martial souls yet. Since they are two little kids who haven't awakened their martial souls, they can't pose any threat to them at all. So even if they don't use their soul power, they can knock them both out, let alone use their soul power now. When they were approaching Asuka and Xiaowu, they actually felt a sense of danger. They vaguely felt that there were fluctuations in the soul power of these two little kids. What they thought in an instant was that this was an illusion. If the two of them really had soul power, wouldn't they be monsters? But in the next second, they realized that this was not an illusion at all, but a fact. Because when they attacked Asuka and Xiaowu, the two of them saw a yellow soul ring appearing beside them. Their understanding was too shallow, and Asuka's golden soul ring was also considered yellow by them. But even the yellow soul ring was enough to surprise them. These two little kids turned out to be soul masters. Soul masters with century-old soul rings. Although their spirit power levels are 17th and 18th, their spirit rings are only 10-year white spirit rings. The gap between them is needless to say, but they have already started, and it is impossible to stop suddenly, because they simply can't do it. Xiaowu released her soft bone rabbit martial soul, and the moment she released her martial soul, she used her soul skills. First soul skill, waist bow. Because her big brother told her that rabbits eat carrots, and they need to eat them with all their strength, so they won't have a chance to fight back when dealing with the enemy. So if she doesn't do it, she must use her strongest blow. Asuka knows Xiaowu's waist skills very well. Yes, Xiaowu's waist bow is very powerful. The moment Xiaowu's waist bow is activated, it can increase the waist strength by 50.00%, and the body's toughness can increase by %. And when the spirit power increases to 10th level, the increase effect will increase by %1. So now that Xiaowu activates this waist bow soul skill, the Zuxushu can't resist it at all. The launch of Xiaowu's waist bow soul ability is extremely amazing, and Zuxushu is a living target for Xiaowu now. Xiaowu grabbed her outstretched paws with both hands, and kicked her legs hard towards her abdomen. Not to mention this is a thin woman, even that fat chicken can be kicked away, so this mustache was kicked away by Xiaowu, and just hit his head on a distant pillar and passed out. Compared with Xiaowu's brutal waist bow, Asuka's actions were more concise, and to the point, that Baba Sheep dared to kick his handsome face. He is a person who relies on his face to make a living. How can he make a fuss if his face is ruined? Bah, how to eat. He was very angry at the bleating sheep who wanted to ruin his appearance, so he used his first soul skill even more brutally, dragon pattern shaking the sky. So the bleating sheep is extremely miserable. When she was about to kick Asuka, she suddenly found a silver light beside her, which made her unable to bear to look at it from the corner of her eye. The moment she saw it, her face was full of disbelief, because what she saw was a cauldron. She's also a target for Asuka, who is now like an athlete with a baseball bat, and the bleating sheep is the ball. With a sound of boom, the Baba sheep flew out. She flew much worse than the mustard mouse, because she also hit the pillar, but she directly broke the pillar, and continued to fly down a pillar. Asuka's first soul skill could make Xiao Kailin's eyes swell. Although the eyes were Xiao Kailin's weakness, they were still much stronger than the Baba sheep, so the Baba sheep broke another pillar. Under Asuka's blow, her appearance was really horrible, and she didn't need to look to know that she would not survive. On the other side, although Zuxushu was knocked out by Xiaowu, she did not die, but Asuka would not let her go easily, and solving her was just a matter of one pot. And there was another boom. Zuzu whiskers she held back. Asuka, who was ruthless with his hands, quickly pulled Xiaowu back to the high heels next to Luo because Luo had already bled to death. The reason why Asuka did this was to restore the truth. He wanted to let their father know that your son was trampled to death. In the end, he came to destroy the corpses and traces. Of course, what he destroyed was the traces of the two secretaries. He set a fire, and the origin of the fire was the two of them. He did this in order not to expose that he and Xiaowu had soul power. And of course the Luo waste machine was waiting at the door for their father to claim it. Afterwards, the two of them also quietly left here, and shortly after they left here, Luo Tangji and Pukai and Chu brought people here quickly. The reason why the two of them came here was entirely because the two of them had just returned to Soto City, and they had gone to Barrack City before. The reason why they went to Berwick City was firstly, to get their son an enrollment certificate, and secondly because of something extremely important to them. This thing is, that they became the nobles of Berwick Kingdom. Give me the ticket? Recently, some friends said that the plot is a bit slow. Should I speed it up? End of this chapter. Chapter 81. The reason why Luo Tangji and Pukai Chu became nobles was not only their powerful Soul Emperor strength, but also the great and outstanding contribution they made to the Berwick Kingdom. The biggest contribution is the Crispy Tiger Bun plan proposed by the two of them. Now the Crispy Tiger Bun store has also opened in every city in the entire Berwick Kingdom. Because of this, the crime rate in the Berwick Kingdom has been greatly reduced, and there are also beautiful stories of various poor people marrying a wife and becoming rich. This not only increased the wealth of the entire Berwick Kingdom, but also made the entire Berwick Kingdom a peaceful atmosphere. It is precisely because of this that their status has also risen. The two of them are now the top nobles in the entire Berwick Kingdom. It can be said that, if they stomp their feet, the entire Berwick Kingdom will tremble. And the main reason why the two of them became aristocrats is also due to their common son Luo Fiji. It was precisely because of Luo Fiji's ingenuity that he made a crispy tiger bag that inspired them to present this expert decision. They decided to reward Luo Fiji well after they came back. The two of them were really happy after becoming nobles. Their faces were all smiles, and when they returned to Soto City happily, they received the news of the Suhubeo accident. They hurriedly brought people to the Suhubeo, but the whole Suhubeo was engulfed in fire. Before they had time to order their men to save people, they rushed in, and the first thing they saw after they entered was Luo waste machine. Because Luo Waste G had been lying at the door the entire time, it was particularly conspicuous, and they didn't care about other things, so they ran out with Luo Waste G. After they came out, they found that Luo Fiji was dead, and he died very miserably. He was trampled to death by high heels. This made them hate so much that they hurriedly ordered someone to investigate, and the results they got after the investigation made them collapse. It turned out to be Shrek Academy again, but this time they didn't spread all the fire on Shrek. Because they have nothing to do with Shrek, they have already sent a Soul Sage and 4 Soul Emperors, and they still have combined soul skills, but none of them killed Zao Wuji, which made them give up on Shrek. Let's do it. It's not that they are cowardly, but that they are really cowardly. They didn't spread the fire on Shrek, because Luo Huaji's death had nothing to do with them. Flender just killed him, and Luo Huaji's real cause of death was because he was trampled to death by those women. If Luo Waste Machine really turned into a waste chicken, it wouldn't be a big deal at all. Because they have already found a good doctor with very high skills. Park Beichu, who was crippled by Zao Walki before, has recovered, and now he can jump on the ground. But he has only one problem, that is, he is not him anymore, he has become her. The doctor's technique was to change his gender, from him to her. This made Luo Tangji and Pukai Chu very happy, because this son is a waste, and his qualifications are mediocre, and not up to paragraph. It would be great for him to be a daughter. So Luo Fiji can become their daughter, even if he is not dead. But now that he is dead, they dare not do anything to Shrek Academy, so they can only vent their anger on those girls. Some of those girls would find a good man and plan to get married tomorrow, but they were arrested by people sent by Luo Tangji and Pukai Chu. Of course, they wanted to take revenge on them. They all gave birth to a boy and a half girl. And Luo Tangji and Pukai Chu also moved to Berwick City to settle down, because they were afraid that Flender and Zao Wuji would retaliate against them, but they still did not stop attacking Shrek Academy, especially because they could not participate. The Continental Elite Soul Master competition was handled tightly by them. The destruction of the Crispy Tiger Bun in Suocho City was gradually forgotten over time, but after a month, the Crispy Tiger Bun opened again, and after such a long waiting for time, a complete fire broke out. Oscar and Zao Wu secretly returned to the Shrek shop after finishing this matter, and the things they bought appeared at the door of the shop miraculously, which made Zao Wu very happy. She thought that the things she bought were all lost. This is of course not brought back by Zao Wuji, but Zao Wuji bought another piece of clothing before entering the Crisp Tiger bag, and he entrusted someone to send it back. That store is also a time-honored brand, so of course it won't do anything to run away with money. After Oscar and Xiaowu came back, they started flipping through all the things they bought, as if what happened just now had never happened. After a while, Flender and Xiaowu also came back, and they sat down around the dining table leisurely. Old Xiao, I'm not talking about you, just go by yourself. How could you take the two of them to that kind of place? Flender said with a slightly angry face. PFFT Xiaowu is drinking Oscar's special salt soda. As a result, it was all sprayed out, and he was still using high pressure, just enough to spray every drop on the face of Flender sitting opposite. Of course Xiaowu wanted to spray, because Flender was pouring dirty water on him, although he was telling the truth, but he must not compromise his dignity in front of Oscar and Xiaowu. With Friend as his boss, he couldn't fight back with words, but he could spray him, and spray him with copious amounts of water. And after he finished spraying, he took another big mouthful of salt soda, as if you said one more word, and I would spray you to death with a mouthful of salt soda. But Flender was helpless when he felt the wetness on his face. He slapped the water around his mouth, but he found it was a bit salty. How stinky Xiaowu's mouth was, it turned the water into seawater. He hurriedly picked up the towel next to him and wiped it, and he also felt a little thirsty, so he picked up the quilt in front of him and drank. And the moment he drank it, as expected, he also spat it out with a poof. But Xiaowu was already prepared, and sat beside him. Flender pointed to the water in the glass and asked suspiciously, "Why is this water so salty?" Xiaowu said in a flustered manner beside him, Hey, you don't know that, do you? This is the salt soda specially made by little Oscar. Although it is a bit salty, it still tastes good, as long as you lick it slowly. It can also replenish stamina. Therefore, Flender's drink changed from the original tea to salt soda, and this became the standard equipment for the teachers of Shrek Academy. There is a slogan that says to eat salty and salty, to be a good teacher. After this, the students of Shrek Academy especially admired them, because their teachers urged themselves to teach good students, even when they drank water. Woohoo, you keep saying I'm procrastinating. Then start a new story tomorrow. Ask for votes. Poor. End of this chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82 Shrek Academy has no students. Afterwards, Oscar made a candlelight dinner for them. As for why it was called a candlelight dinner, because he made a love cake for Xiaowu. There were candles on the cake, and candles in the room. If it weren't for the two light bulbs Flender and Xiaowu, this room would definitely be very sweet and warm. The two people, who were brighter than the light from the candles, tasted a few bites of the cake through Xiaowu's light receiver, and they gave their thumbs up on the spot. But since they have tasted the cake, of course they will not give up the cake easily. They really don't want billion. On the grounds that it is not good for children to eat too much sweet, they divided the remaining cake in half. And Oscar had already had a deep understanding of their ethics, so he had already expected that the two of them would rob. So he took out another cake that was exactly the same and placed it in front of Xiaowu. Xiaowu's eyes lit up when she saw the new love cake. She just thought it was snatched away by those two old men who didn't want billion. Oscar quickly cut a small piece for Xiaowu. Xiaowu happily ate it, and her mouth was covered with cream. She looked very cute. Oscar was about to wipe her off, but Xiaowu hurriedly avoided. Xiaowu pouted her cute little mouth and said mischievously, "Big brother, Xiaowu wants to kiss." After Oscar heard it, his deer immediately started to bump into it. How could he refuse such a good thing? He didn't care about the two light bulbs. He hurriedly put his mouth together, and a minute passed. 2 minutes have passed. After 3 minutes, they finally separated reluctantly. If they didn't feel a little out of breath, they would never have separated. Oscar stared at Xiaowu, and Xiaowu also stared at Oscar, and they laughed foolishly because they found that there was more cream around their mouths, and it was still wet, almost pulling silk. Flender and Xiaowu, the two light bulbs, had already turned their backs and buried their heads in licking their fingers. They licked their fingers, of course, because their cake had already been eaten, but they were so embarrassed by Oscar and Xiaowu that they didn't know what to do. So they had no choice but to stick out their tongues and lick the cream on their fingers. This action was really disgusting and greasy. Greasy is really a good way to describe the two of them. Of course the two of them would not care about Oscar and Xiaowu's intimacy because they are just children. And Flender raised Xiaowu as his daughter-in-law. As for Xiaowuqi next to him, of course he would say that I did the same. Xiaowu blushed and leaned against Oscar's chest. Her belly was enlarged by Oscar again. Looking at the half of the cake left, Oscar said to Flender and Xiaowuqi, who were facing the wall in thought, "Ahem, four-eyed uncle, fat uncle, let's finish eating. You will eat all of these before you are full." Bah. Flender and Xiaowuqi turned around in an instant, and they rushed towards the cake like two cute puppies seeing a bone. Oscar felt very helpless. Are these two strong soul saints? Are you sure this is not a refugee who has experienced a natural disaster? After being swept by the two of them, their stomachs were also stretched. Oscar was very glad that the two of them didn't say that their stomachs were enlarged by him, otherwise he would definitely faint to death. After they were full of salt, soda, and cake, they started a chat mode. They chatted all over the world, and then talked about little Kaelin and the 5 titled wild beasts. When Flender heard that Oscar had a beast pet that could fight Xiaowuqi, he was stunned on the spot, and was delayed for half an hour. After he recovered, he began to complain to Xiaowuqi again. Shrek Academy was short of funds again. This made Xiaowuqi look helpless. He would never say that he had 50 gold soul coins in his hand, and Oscar and the others couldn't. For this, Flender must be ruthless. If you reveal that you have money, then he will absolutely pester you and lend you the money in your hand no return. Just like now he said to Xiaowuqi that the funds were tight. Of course he set the salary he just gave Xiaowuqi. Old Xiao Shrek Academy. Hey. Before Flender could speak, he noticed that Xiaowuqi was walking towards the door, and he quickly asked, "Old Xiao, where are you going? Do you want me to accompany you?" Xiaowuqi turned around and said happily, "Okay. It's just that I'm going to pay back the money, so you can help me pay it back, Dean." Flender quickly pretended to hold his stomach, and ran towards the toilet, shouting as he ran, "Oh, my stomach hurts. Old Xiao, you can go by yourself. I can't do it. I want to give up." The corners of Xiaowuqi's mouth raised slightly, and he still used this trick. "I have already been tricked by you once, the so-called getting a trap, gaining wisdom. How could I still be fooled by you? Big brother, why did the four-eyed uncle say he was leaving the palace? Why didn't he enter the palace?" Xiaowu questioned in Oscar's arms. Oscar quickly replied, "Of course it's because he has already entered the palace." Flender also slipped out after Xiaowuqi left, and now he has a sad face because their Shrek funds have become a problem again. This made Oscar next to him very curious. Shrek Academy never accepts ordinary people, but only accepts monsters. There were not many students in Shrek Academy, and he was still 2 years away from the age of 6, and none of the Shrek 7 devils came. Now Oscar doubts whether there are any students in Shrek Academy. Where are the places in Shrek Academy that are so wasteful? He couldn't help but asked Flender in his heart, "How many students are there in Shrek Academy, Uncle Four Eyes? Why do you keep saying that funds are tight?" Being asked about this by a child made Flender feel a little uncomfortable. He felt that his face hurt a little now, as if someone had slapped his mouth. Flender sighed, shook his head and said helplessly, "Hey, Shrek Academy has no students now." PFFT there isn't a single student? Oscar asked in disbelief. Although Oscar and Xiaowu didn't have salt soda in their mouths, it didn't stop them from spraying it out. This Flender actually said that Shrek Academy has no students. As an academy, there are no students. This is like there is no wife in a wife cake, which makes people feel particularly ridiculous. Wife cake. There is no wife in the wife cake. What do you call wife cake? It is ridiculous. There are no students in the same academy. What is your name? Isn't it good to call a mental hospital? Oscar felt incredible that there were no students in Shrek Academy. How could there be no students in Shrek Academy? Ask for a ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 83. The store is being upgraded, and the store is temporarily closed. Oscar felt incredible that Shrek had no students. Because Daishao once said in the anime that Zio-san, Zio-wu, Zhu Zuking and Ning Rang were not included, the entire Shrek Academy only accepted 20 students in 62 years, and at that time he, Daishao and Fatty they all joined Shrek. So in other words, Shrek Academy can receive a little more than 2 a year on average, but now they don't have any. This is really beyond Oscar's expectation. No wonder Flender said that the academy was short of money. There is not a single student, so the funds for raising teachers are not tight. Flender continued to sigh and said, alas, there is no student at all. In fact, there was one, but he died a few months ago while hunting a soul beast. A group of teachers made the only student kill the soul beast and died. It seems that the anime is really unwatchable. Sure enough, the fairy tales are all deceptive. Of the 62 students, only 14 graduated. This miserable data just proves that most of those who did not graduate are dead. Flender continued to sigh. Oh, now the academy has no income at all. It's really hard for me as a dean. It seems that I have to find some graduate students to get some sponsorship. These four eyes can actually get rid of Billion to such an extent. How did he do it? Oscar felt very sorry for those graduates. They had to pay when they entered Shrek Academy, and now they have to pay after graduation. It's really hard for them. Oscar suddenly thought that he and Zio-wu would have to pay for entering Shrek Academy in the future. According to Flender's extremely stingy personality, Oscar believed that he would do this. Flender continued to talk to himself. No, it can't be done. I'll go over all those graduates. If I ask for them again, they probably won't give them back. It seems that I have to use the old method. Uncle Four Eyes, what old method are you talking about? Zio-wu asked curiously from the side. Of course it is to recruit students. This year, our academy has not yet recruited students. Flender replied calmly. Oscar immediately understood what he meant. It's not about Billion's money being cheated again. The minimum standard for Shrek Academy to recruit students is no more than 12 years old, and the soul power level must reach level or above. This is completely recruiting monsters. How can most people meet this standard? The most important thing is that the registration fee of Shrek Academy will not be refunded. The registration fee is 10 gold soul coins. Even so, there are still many people who don't know the standard registration every year, and there are endless people rushing to send money to Shrek. Well, another income of Shrek Academy is the registration fee, and Flender is going to start cheating on the registration fee. But what troubles Flender is that Shrek Academy has no role models this year. Every year, he will send students to act as role models. If anyone wants to refund the registration fee, he must win the student first. They will all leave in despair, and this year Shrek Academy has no one to play this role. If there is no one to play this role, then the registration fee will definitely be refunded. How can this not make him distressed? And he was only distressed for a moment, because he suddenly turned his head to look at Oscar. His eyes were very fiery, like watching a mad dog see a meat bun. This made Oscar feel bad. He took a few steps back and shouted, I don't have any money. Flender groaned in embarrassment. Then he smiled and said to Oscar, hey, little Oscar, son, do you want to join Shrek Academy? Oscar shouted again, I really have no money. These four eyes actually made me pay to join Shrek. This is absolutely impossible. By the way, how did he know that I have gold soul coins? Flender shook his head like a rattle and laughed. Hey, I don't want you to pay. I just ask you to do me a favor. Really? Oscar asked suspiciously. Flender said with great certainty, of course it's true. Pearl's true. When did I ever lie to you? MMP, you never lied to me. Oscar said unquestionably. Then Zio-wu has to join, or I won't join. Bullshit. Of course Zio-wu is going to join. You two have long been members of my Shrek Academy. Flender's tone was quite firm. Although Oscar felt that there was something wrong with it, he still chose to join Shrek. Not because of the kindness of Flender and Zio-wu to him. Not because of Zhu Zuking and Ning Rang. Real. Pearls are true. So the next day, Flender and Zio-wu left the small shop and went back to Shrek Academy to recruit students. Because of the existence of little Kaylin, Flender and Xiao Waoqi were not worried that they would be in danger, and Oscar and Xiao Wu finally ushered in their own two-person world. In the days to come, they would eat every meal, and their strength had improved rapidly in just a few days. Xiao Wu's soul power has also been raised from the original 11th level to the 13th level, and Oscar's soul power level has also been raised from the 13th level to the 15th level. And Oscar also communicated with the system to check his attribute panel. Host, Oscar, Australia, soul power, level, martial soul, enhanced version of sausage, legendary kitchenware martial soul, dragon pattern poultry dragon patterned martial soul skill, first soul skill, dragon pattern shakes the sky. Task, long-term phase collection of god-level kitchen utensils. The first phase has been completed, the second phase is to be opened. Long-term branch task, recognize Bibidang as a godmother, and reward spirit power, to increase by 5 levels. Unfinished, acknowledge Hulina as a god sister, and the reward will increase the soul power to 3 levels. Unfinished. Soul bone, special part soul bone tail root, comes with soul skill food shield beast pet. 5 colored heaven swallowing python, or 1000-year-old soul beast, now 90 years old. Item, veterinary ration seasoning intimate relationship, Xiao Wu, god sister. What surprised Oscar the most, when he saw his attribute panel was nothing else, but the age of little Kaylin. Little Kaylin had only 10 years left, which is a 10,000-year soul beast. If he has been cultivating in the beast pet space, wouldn't it only take 1 year to become a 10,000-year soul beast? Coupled with the assistance of animal pet rations, it will definitely not take a year to reach the 10,000-year soul beast. This happiness came so suddenly. It turns out that little Kaylin has never changed its true form. No wonder Xiao Wuji didn't see that it was a 1000-year-old soul beast. The soul power of Oscar and Xiao Wu is leaping like a rocket. They have nothing to do except eat together, sleep together, take a bath together, and order dada together. How crispy it is. The reason why they are so comfortable and their world is not disturbed is because there is a plaque hanging at the door of Flender's small shop, which reads, "The store is being upgraded, and the store is temporarily closed. Ask for a ticket." End of this chapter. Chapter 84. Oscar and Xiao Wu join Shrek. The plaque at the entrance of Flender's small shop was exactly hung by Oscar. He didn't want people to disturb the sweet and happy world of him and Xiao Wu just because of a few golden soul coins or even less silver soul coins. He is very rich now, and it is not an exaggeration to be called a local rich man, because they have confirmed in the past few days that Xiao Wu's bracelet should not be called an anklet now. With 10,000 plus gold soul coins, Oscar also envisioned that there would be so many gold soul coins in it, and he estimated that there would be tens of thousands of gold soul coins at most, because since the few titled wild beasts had a soul bonus reward, how could they still have one? So much money. Now he and Xiao Wu can really be said to have become rich overnight. This Xiao Wu's heart is really dark. At that time, he actually wanted to take this windfall by himself. Fortunately, he was smarter and thought of letting Xiao Wu save it first. So they are now suspending the Flender store, which is quite normal, because they are not short of money. As for Flender's miser, it has nothing to do with them. They just need to live in the warm little world of the two of them. However, their two-person world didn't last long. After they passed the 5th day, their small world was broken by a person. This person was none other than Flender. Flender came to Soto City early that morning. When he came to his store, his eyes widened in an instant, because he unexpectedly found that his store was closed. You don't need to guess, you can think that it's the trick of that little cunning Oscar, which makes him feel very speechless. My shop is to make money, although there are very few customers, but it's dedicated to killing people who are taken advantage of, and the income is still very high. It is true that he has not been in control of this store recently, but he has handed over this store to Oscar, but now it has been closed by him. He opened the door with a gloomy expression and looked into the store. This made him feel very embarrassed, because Oscar and Xiao Wu were still sleeping under the covers, and they were still up and down. Of course, Xiao Wu was lying on top of Oscar. Oscar heard the movement and looked at Flender. He was very glad that the two of them slept in pajamas last night. Ahem, the sun is drying your butts. Why haven't you gotten up yet? Flender turned his head and said in embarrassment. The corner of Oscar's mouth raised slightly, and he said seriously, Uncle Four Eyes, you have a very bad habit of coming in without knocking. I hope you can correct it next time. Flender thought silently, I haven't asked him why he closed my shop yet. She was reprimanded by him first. But strangely, he didn't bother with Oscar about the closure of his store. Instead, he lay on his exclusive recliner, closed his eyes and said happily, Little Oscar, Xiao, you two, get up quickly, and I will take you with you in a while. You go out for a trip. Get out. Four-eyed uncle, where are we going? Xiao asked curiously as she rubbed herself in Oscar's arms. Flender continued, you two will know when it's over. Oscar thought to himself, only 4 days have passed since the good days, and the bad days are coming again, and these two greasy uncles are going to start training them again. But Oscar was wrong this time, because Flender had no plan to train them. Oscar raised his head slightly and said to Flender, oh, we know, you should step back first. So Flender obediently withdrew, because he also thought about the fact that they had to change their clothes. They were all wearing pajamas. If only Oscar dared to speak to him like that, he would definitely treat Oscar's ass in quarters. But there was Xiao beside him. Xiao changed clothes. He, the future godfather, couldn't just stare at him. So he could only retreat in despair, and he retreated for more than an hour. During this period, he shouted more than once and asked, are you alright? Well, it will be ready soon. Come out soon. Are you alright? Yeah, it's coming out soon. In this way, Flender waited at the door for more than an hour. If two adults stayed in the room for such a long time and listened to this conversation, it would definitely arouse people's imagination, but it is absolutely impossible for two children to do such a thing. It's really serious to change clothes again. Especially Xiao's hair was ravaged by Oscar last night. It was really messy. Of course Oscar had to fix it for her, so they spent more time. Flender went through days and years of waiting, and finally waited for them to come out glamorously. Their clothes were also changed into new clothes. Xiao's clothes were still pink, and a short skirt with a small shirt was extraordinarily heroic, sassy. And Oscar was also dressed coolly. His top was a patterned short-sleeved shirt, and his lower body was a patterned pair of big pants. Coupled with the brown sunglasses on his head, it looks like he is going on vacation no matter what. Flender was very surprised by his outfit, and he said playfully, Little Oscar, are you sure you want to wear this outfit? I'm sure. The sun is so big outside. I'm too shy, Oscar said with certainty. While talking, he didn't know where he took out a folding fan and fanned it, making people look like a child traveling to the seaside. Just be sure. Flender nodded. Flender led them out of the south gate of Soto City, and after leaving Soto City, he directly took them both into the air and flew up one by one. Xiao felt very happy when she flew, but Oscar beside him was very unhappy because he was afraid that Flender would throw the two of them down again. After a short while, they finally landed safely. Oscar was very glad that he was able to land safely. Although he now has the sole power to prevent him from falling to his death, he didn't want to feel the feeling of free falling from high altitude. Oscar began to look at the surrounding scenery, and he found that it was a small village. This village was not very big, with only about 100 households. There is a wooden fence around the village, which seems to be used to defend against wild animals, but there are many people gathered at the entrance of the village, and they don't know what happened. This scene made Oscar feel a little familiar, as if he had seen it somewhere before. And when he was wondering, Flender next to them said to them, we are here. Xiao, Oscar and Xiao welcome you to join Shrek Academy. From now on, you will officially become a member of Shrek. Asking for tickets, I'm working hard on the code. End of this chapter. Chapter 85, The Dilapidated Shrek Academy. No wonder Oscar felt that this scene was a bit familiar. Isn't this the village that appeared when Shrek Academy recruited students in the anime? It turned out that they were brought to Shrek Academy by Flender. Why did he bring us here? And when he was recruiting students here, Oscar would never believe that he didn't have Xiao. In order not to attract the attention of others, Flender landed on the outskirts of the village. If others see that they are flying over, they will definitely attract everyone's attention. The most important thing is that he, as the dean, does not want to be found by others' money back. At this moment, Flender suddenly changed his previous expression and turned around quickly. Oscar and Xiao Wu were startled by his sudden movement, and they took a step back inadvertently. Flender's rough body twisted and rubbed his hands together, and his expression was also particularly wretched. He grinned and said to Oscar with a flattering face, "Little Oscar, you are now a member of the Shrek Academy. Senior brother, shouldn't he make some contribution to Shrek?" "I don't have any money." Oscar shook his head and replied. "Hehe, I don't need you to pay, as long as you contribute. You just need to," Flender said with a smirk. Seeing him like that, Oscar knew that he was definitely not holding back anything good, but he also listened to what Flender said he needed to do. After listening to him, he immediately understood what kind of position he was in. It turns out all he needs to do is take the position of Daishao in the anime. What Flender asked him to be a role model for Shrek. Of course, this is a good name, but it should be called a blame man if it is not good. The person who refunded the money complained enough. You understand, you two go there by yourself. I still have something to do, so I will leave first. Flender flew away quickly after speaking. Oscar cursed Flender in his heart. These four eyes made him do such a thankless thing, but Oscar did not refuse, because this is a capable person, a good opportunity to pretend. Oscar held Xiao Wu's hand and came closer. He found that besides children, there were also some adults gathered here. Of course, these adults were the parents of those children. These children were almost in their teens, but they were still young. They are still in front of the flowers in the greenhouse without breaking away from the protection of their parents. From this, it can be seen that they will definitely not become a strong person who can stand alone in the future. And there is a table at the entrance of the village. Behind this table sits an old man in his 60s, and next to this old man sits a person Oscar and Xiao Wu are very familiar with. That person is Xiao Promise. Xiao Walqi is not here to accompany and check the strength of these children. He is here to wait for Oscar and Xiao Wu. He has not eaten the meal made by Oscar for 4 days, and now he misses it very much, so he has to flatter him first, and then Oscar will reward him with a sumptuous meal. Although Oscar looked at Xiao Walqi, he only stopped for a moment on him. Oscar knew why he was here. Compared with why Xiao Walqi was here, he felt more at the gate of Shrek Academy curious. The gate is similar to the one shown in the anime. The gate is a large wooden arch, and above the large arch is hung a wooden plaque, engraved with 5 large characters of Shrek Academy, and a green monster in the middle, the humanoid head. This head is forgiving green, looks particularly weird. Looking at the big arch, Oscar sighed and thought, sure enough, the anime is full of lies. In the anime, although the big arch is a bit dilapidated, you can still watch it. It's really uncomfortable to move it to reality, because this big arch is made of wood. After the ravages of time, the surface has been glossy. It looks dry, messy, not round at all. Oscar especially wants to find a few people to make a plate. Although Oscar was fully prepared for the defeat of Shrek Academy, he still couldn't help complaining when he saw it. Is this an academy that people can come to? The kid who came to sign up is probably blind. Even if the children are blind, then their parents must have something beyond their imagination to send their children to such a shabby college. The main reason is that one can't think about it. It can't be that so many people can't think about it. At a glance, it seems that there are more than 100 children who signed up. Xiao Wu asked curiously from the side, "Big brother, is this the Shrek Academy run by Uncle Four Eyes and Uncle Chubby? Why does this place look like a small village?" Because they are poor and have no money to build the academy. Flender would definitely vomit 3 liters of blood if he heard Oscar's words. Oscar took Xiao Wu and walked towards Xiao Walqi. Because they are now Shrek students, there is no need to line up at all. And when they passed by, the two of them heard the complaints and doubts of those who signed up. "Is there any mistake? This dilapidated place is Shrek Academy," said a woman who accompanied her child to sign up. And the woman in front of her also questioned and said, "Shrek Academy claims to be an academy that can become a viscount of the empire after graduation. How could it be so dilapidated? We were not deceived." And at this moment, a man with a child in front of them said with certainty, "It can't be wrong. This is what the people of Wuhandian said. How could the people of Wuhandian lie to us?" The woman said just now, "If there is nothing wrong with that, this college is too shabby. It is really shameful for my child to go to school here." "Son, let's find another college." But the child next to the mother said, "Mom, since we are here, let's wait." The teacher of the junior college said before that the more powerful the college, the harder the test. Maybe this is the first test. Maybe the real academy is not here. There were too many similar conversations in the queue, and the people who signed up, and the parents who accompanied their children all looked disappointed. Oscar really wants to tell that kid, "Just now that you really think too much. The real Shrek Academy is here. You better go back quickly. Why are you so overwhelmed and have to wait? Does it feel good to be cheated of 10 gold soul coins?" Oscar and Xiao Wu ignored them, but came to the table at the registration office with cheerful steps. Just as Oscar and Xiao Wu started to talk, they were stopped by the parents of the first applicant next to them. "Whose child is this so unqualified and running around? You don't want to sign up at this point. If you want to sign up, get out and queue up." End of this chapter. Chapter 86. The Melanitas at the registration office. Oscar and Xiao Wu stared blankly at the two adults who stopped them in front of them. They were dressed in silk and satin, and they were all dressed in gold and silver. The man had a big head and a thick neck, either rich or a cook, but the clothes on his body make it clear that it is the former. And next to this rich man is a beautiful young woman with a mysterious figure, smooth and smooth. The two of them are a combination of a pig and a cabbage. However, this cabbage should not be a good cabbage, otherwise I would not be willing let a fat pig hug her. Oscar shook his head and thought sadly, if a person is handsome, he can be envied, no matter where he is, and I, a young lady, can be envied by pigs and cabbage. How difficult it is for me. Oscar looked at the couple with a very cute look and said, "You two old people, we are not here to sign up, we are just here to take a look." PFFT. Both the people behind and Xiao Wu were all amused by Oscar's old man. The age of these two people is not very old at all. Their children are only in their teens, and they look like they are in their 30s, especially the beautiful young woman who looks only in her 20s, who is called an old man by Oscar, who can hold back from laughing. But there is one person who is very shameless. That person is the old man sitting in front of the registration desk. He didn't even tremble from the wrinkles on his face. And Xiao Wauqi sitting next to him has already fallen asleep. Otherwise he would have died a long time ago. Hug Oscar and Xiao Wu warmly. The old man sitting at the registration table is dressed very plainly, like an old man sitting at the entrance of the village. He has a lazy demeanor, just like the two parents who brought their children to sign up in front of him, looking for something to do, but he didn't mean to stop him at all, and stretched his waist lazily, as if he would fall asleep with Xiao Wuji in the next second. And the couple that Oscar called the old man were very angry. They were used to being arrogant and domineering in their small town, so they raised their palms and wanted to slap Oscar, but they raised their palms. But they have yet to make a move, because they suddenly thought that this place was Shrek Academy. Although the old man in front of him didn't care about them, if he slapped him, their behavior made the old man dissatisfied and announced that their son could not enter Shrek. That would be terrible. The gain outweighs the loss. So they resisted the urge to do it, and the beautiful young woman smirked at Oscar and Xiao Wu. Hey, uncle and auntie just played with you too. You can watch it if you want. Just watch it wherever you want. The beautiful young woman happened to bend down to speak to them, and she was still wearing a low-cut dress. Naturally, two big white rabbits appeared when she bent down. Oscar thought, "Don't move, let me see it again." Moment. And this beautiful young woman really didn't move, as if she heard the call of his heart, and she swayed from side to side, which dazzled Oscar. And when he was watching with great interest, Xiao Wu at the side grabbed his ear and said angrily, "Brother, you are not allowed to look at this old man's chest." Oscar cried out in pain and hastily and reluctantly averted his gaze. And under Xiao Wu's words, the beautiful young woman also lifted up her blouse in embarrassment, because she found that all the men standing behind them were staring at her chest with very fanatical eyes, which made her feel very insecure, as if she had returned to receiving a group of wolf-like guests when she went to work. She quickly ran to her husband's side in desperation, and quickly stretched out her hand to straddle his arm. His husband also stretched out his hand to wrap her waist around her like a baby. Oscar is very sorry for this, big brother. Your wife definitely gave you more than one hat, and you still treat her like a baby. Don't you realize that your eldest son looks nothing like you? Of course, Oscar would not tell this pig what was in his heart. Maybe he knew it well, but he just didn't want to expose it. Otherwise, since he is so rich, it is not good to let his son go to any college. Even Berwick College is better than this. But he didn't. But he brought his son to this dilapidated Shrek Academy. Even if he didn't know about it before, but now he saw something so bad, he still wanted to enter it. At this time, the lazy old man finally spoke. His voice matched his form, and he said lazily, "The registration fee is 10 gold soul coins. Just put it in the box over there." Daddy Pig quickly took out 10 gold soul coins from Mummy Pig's pocket, and put them into a box, nailed by several wooden boards. Mummy Pig looked at Daddy Pig suspiciously, thinking, why are you spending money in my pocket? How does she understand Daddy Pig's thinking? Why should I pay for your child? The old man said to the pig kid in front of him, "Stretch out a hand." The pig child stretched out his hand in front of the old man. The old man squeezed a few times, shook his head and said, "Your age is not suitable, you can go." Daddy Pig was stunned for a moment, and he quickly smiled at the old man. "This teacher, my son just celebrated his 12th birthday. His age should match." The old man sighed and said, "Hey, sorry, your son is 13 years old now." 13 years old? My son is obviously 12 years old. Daddy Pig yelled in disbelief. The old man said impatiently, "How old is your son? You have to ask the lady next to you. Please don't affect the people behind. We only accept children under 13 years old. Over 13 years old, no charge at all. You can go." "This son is 13 years old," Oscar said eccentrically beside him. Daddy Pig woke up listening to the old man's words and Oscar's yin and yang aura. "My son." These words contained too many meanings, and he clearly remembered that his son was 12 years old. And the son he has been raising for many years is actually 13 years old. That is to say, this bastard is not his son at all. He and Mummy Pig actually have a 12-year-old son, but he doesn't know where his own son is. And the son he raised has always been someone else's son. This is like a tongue twister, which is to deceive him. Anyway, he knows that the son he has raised for many years is not his own son, but his son is actually someone else. This made his big head a little dazed, and now he especially wanted to know where his own son had gone. Oscar and Xiaowu were also curious about this matter. They both took a piece of watermelon on the table and ate it naturally. The so-called melon eating crowd should probably be them. Eat melons and ask for tickets. End of this chapter. Chapter 87. Oscar, who was placed in day SHAO and -039's position. Daddy Pig was furious. He stretched out his hand angrily and grabbed Mummy Pig's hair and dragged him aside and began to question where his son had gone. Whose bastard is this bastard? In the end, her wife told the truth under his severe torture. He told his husband that this child is actually your biological brother and your biological son is now your stepfather. There is so much information that people don't know how to react. Oscar can only think in admiration. Your circle is really messed up. Xiaowu curiously asked Oscar 100,000 reasons. She asked, "Big brother, Xiaowu doesn't understand their relationship. Should he call his wife or his mother now? And should his son call him father or son? And should his father call his son grandson or love rival?" Xiaowu's question made Oscar very speechless. He didn't know how he should answer Xiaowu. And Daddy Pig fainted from the anger of Mummy Pig's words. Perhaps fainting is his best choice. I believe that, when he wakes up again, he still hopes to faint. Oscar's gaze returned from this strange and chaotic family to the old man who signed up. The corner of the old man's mouth raised slightly after Daddy Pig and the others left. Of course Oscar knew what he was thinking, because Daddy Pig and the others did not apply for a refund of the registration fee. Oscar pulled Xiaowu to eat a piece of watermelon again, which made the old man very confused. Where did these two children come from? Why don't you treat yourself as an outsider? My watermelon is just a few pieces. I'm still waiting for me to eat it later. This is good. They were eaten by both of them. And after Oscar and Xiaowu wiped out the piece of watermelon, they found that the sleeping Xiaowuki hadn't woken up yet. He and Xiaowu looked at each other and smiled, and they shouted at the same time, "Xiao Cheng is here." Under their awe, Xiaowuji woke up quickly. He stood up suddenly on the seat and looked around, and asked, "Where is Xiao Cheng? Where is Xiao Cheng?" The old man next to him quickly covered his face because he felt a little ashamed. Xiao Waoqi rubbed his eyes and suddenly found Oscar and Xiao Wu standing in front of the table. He smiled awkwardly. Ha ha ha, little Oscar. Xiao Wu, what are you doing? When did it come? Xiao Wu said mischievously. Uncle Chubby, we've been eating melons for a long time. You sleep like a pig. Xiao Waoqi said awkwardly. I'm so exhausted from busy work these days. I just fell asleep without paying attention. He pointed to the village old man again and said, let me introduce to you. This old man who looks like a village old man is Li Yusong, the teacher of our Shrek Academy. It's a dragon pattern stick. Oscar, good guy. You are the dragon pattern stick and I'm the dragon pattern pot. If you don't know, you may think I'm your father. I don't have a son in his 60s. If I really want to, then I don't have to find a wife in her 80s. I can't learn from Daddy Pig and his family. Although Oscar was not surprised that this old man was the Soul Emperor, everyone in the queue was indeed extremely surprised. This unremarkable old man turned out to be the Soul Emperor. There are definitely only a handful of Soul Masters, but the teacher responsible for the registration turned out to be a Soul Emperor. How strong is this Shrek Academy? All their thoughts that they thought they were being cheated were gone with the wind, and now they can't wait to let their children enter this Shrek Academy right away. Hello, Teacher Li. Oscar and Xiao Wu said obediently. Li Yusong's old face finally broke into a smile, and he smiled and said, well, hello to you. You are Oscar and Xiao Wu, right? The two deans are talking about you in front of us teachers. Numbering about us? Then why are they talking about us? Xiao Wu asked mischievously. Li Yusong replied with a smile. They praised Xiao Wu as cute, obedient, and smart. Then what are they exaggerating about, brother? Xiao Wu continued to ask curiously. Li Yusong replied without hesitation. They praised Oscar's cooking as super delicious, even better than Xiaozin's, Shrek Academy teachers, cooking. Old man, I must have a good taste of your cooking today. Oscar quickly replied, yeah, I will definitely make Teacher Li a feast. After he agreed, he stared at Xiao Wuji fiercely. This fat man definitely spoke ill of me to these teachers. Otherwise how could this oldly head just praise me for the delicious food? Xiao Waoqi covered his eyes and said aside, okay, since you are here, my mission is complete. I'll go back to the academy to get busy. After all, there are a lot of things inside. After he finished speaking, he ran away without a trace. This fat man ran away like that. He really had a good relationship with Flender. Li Yusong said to Oscar and Xiao Wu, go there and rest for a while, and when I need you later, I will naturally call you. So Oscar and Xiao Wu obediently hugged the watermelon and went to eat it in the shade at the entrance of the village, leaving Li Yusong with black lines on his face. My melons are gone. Nothing left for me. Oscar and Xiao Wu were there with the big red watermelon. You took a bite. I ate it in one bite, regardless of the thirsty feeling of the people queuing up next to them. Oscar also thought of a very profitable way, that is to sell melons by the side, but now he is not short of money at all. There is no need to work so hard, and it is more comfortable for him to piss off these people on the sidelines. And under the scene of them disregarding the life and death of others, these people who lined up, especially the parents who accompanied the children, were all furious. Their tempers were only a matchstick away from being ignited, and at this moment Li Yusong's dragon pattern stick was the matchstick. After he announced a child who was unqualified, the two parents were about to withdraw from him fee, and Li Yusong replied unceremoniously, once you sign up, it will not be refunded. Those two parents were so angry that they had no place to vent their anger. He said angrily, you Shrek Academy is clearly cheating money. Don't think that you are the Soul Emperor, and I'm afraid of you. If you don't refund my registration fee today, I won't leave today. TUI, what a mess. And with this one taking the lead, the last two people who had just been declared unqualified and hadn't gone far also ran back and clamored for a refund of the registration fee. Li Yusong smiled disdainfully and shouted, little Oscar, someone wants to refund the registration fee, you handle it. Oscar thought to himself, sure enough, I was assigned the position of young master day. Oh, it's too painful. Continue to ask for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 88. Little Kaylin shows his power. The powerful Li Yusong Hearing Lee Yu-sung's shout, Oscar shook the skin of the melon in his hand and said arrogantly, "Who wants to refund the registration fee? There is only one requirement to refund the registration fee, and that is to defeat me." Compared with Daemube in the anime, his appearance is completely two extremes. Daemube released his soul power directly, and the appearance of 2 yellow and 1 purple soul rings made those people pressured and retreated. But Oscar is so petite that he can't intimidate him at all. Instead, he attracted a group of ridicules. The parents who wanted to refund all pointed at Oscar and laughed. "Ha ha ha, who is this kid? Ha. Come out at this point and pretend to be a man. Ha ha ha, you can get all the registration fee back if you beat, you little brat. Am I right?" They found that Lee Yu-sung did not refute, which proved that what he said was indeed true. They were immediately overjoyed and walked towards Oscar eagerly gearing up. They came in front of Oscar and said disdainfully, "Who gave you the courage to say that you can refund the registration fee if you defeat it, little brat?" Oscar blinked his peach blossom eyes and smiled cutely. "It's Liang Jingru." The people standing in a row around him were stunned because they had never heard of this name before. So they questioned, "Is Liang Jingru that strong? Is she a titled Douluo?" PFFT yes, she is a titled Douluo. Oscar nodded and said. The father of the headed child said fiercely, "I don't care if it's the courage given to you by titled Douluo. Anyway, if you defeat you, we will refund our registration fee. Brothers, old girls, son, lead your little friends. Let's go together." Fuck, they don't talk about Wood. Why did you bring it with you? Isn't it a one-on-one match? These people who don't want Billion launched an attack on Oscar, the child. The most important thing is that they are all soul masters. If this is an ordinary soul master, it will definitely end badly, and they will definitely be kicked unconscious. But Oscar is no ordinary soul master. He shouted with a smile on his face, "Little Kaylin, come out." Although this group of people were curious about what little Kaylin was, they didn't stop their attacks, but in the next moment they knew what this little kid called little Kaylin was. I saw a colorful boa constrictor suddenly appearing beside Oscar. The length of this boa constrictor had exceeded 4 meters or even nearly 5 meters. This made them stop attacking quickly and retreated one after another. The big python was almost 5 meters high, which meant that it was a soul beast that was nearly 500 years old. Don't say that they are all on the top. Even if they come again, these people are not opponents. They all fled from the place in fright, and they didn't dare to stay any longer. They were really afraid that the big python would swallow them up. Oscar stretched out his hand and touched Zyro Kaylin's head and said, "Okay, Zyro Kaylin, you go back first. You will come out after lunch." And those people who lined up were terrified when they saw that this little kid had a 400-year-old soul beast as a partner, and they all wondered how this little kid managed to recover such a powerful soul beast. Lee Yu-sung also released his martial spirit at this time, and he released an extremely powerful breath suddenly, and a long stick covered with countless fine lines appeared in his hand. This stick is his martial arts Soul Dragon Stick. And his soul ring also rose suddenly under his feet. The gorgeous light was even more shocking than Zyro Kaylin's appearance just now. It was his powerful light that attracted all the attention. The colors of his 6 soul rings, they are white, yellow, zizizi, and black. The dragon pattern stick in his hand was on the ground, and there was a dull sound, and almost everyone felt a little vibration under their feet, except of course the fat man who was 200 catties. He said coldly, "Have you seen it? This kid is a student of our Shrek Academy. The reason why our Shrek Academy is called Shrek Academy is that it specializes in accepting monsters. You can pass our Shrek's test. Those who are not over 13 years old, if you don't have confidence in yourself, I advise you to go back to where you came from." If he didn't say the last sentence, some people really want to go home, but his last sentence is completely aggressive. These children are all young and vigorous, and they are all very strong. They think they are geniuses, so they are absolutely determined to get into Shrek. Seeing that no one quit, Lee Yu-sung raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Seeing his appearance, Oscar thought to himself, sure enough, the teachers in Shrek Academy are all the same thing. If they are not shady, they will feel uncomfortable all over. After Li Yusong finished speaking, the light of the soul ring on his body quickly subsided, and all the soul power disappeared in an instant, and he returned to his previous appearance as the old man at the entrance of the village, without any feeling that he would be a soul emperor strong. And those parents who accompanied their children are all honest and honest. The teaching staff of Shrek Academy is really too powerful. It's just that one teacher who is in charge of registration has a black 10,000-year soul ring, so the rest of the teachers, how strong is it? It's no wonder that Shrek only accepts monsters. They have the ability to accept monsters, and their children have the confidence to become monsters. They can only obediently accompany them. They can't tell their children that if we don't have the strength to become a monster, let's go home. In that case, their children will definitely be devastated from now on. As parents, they must support them silently, and only in this way can they move forward, bravely give it a try. So because of this, Shrek's harvest today is a bumper harvest, but this batch of more than 100 applicants has been defrauded of thousands of gold soul coin reserves, and among these more than 100 applicants, there are less than 10 souls the power exceeds level. And this is just the beginning, because Li Yusong told them that this is only the first level of the entrance examination, and then they need to enter the second level of the exam, and accompanying parents cannot enter. Because Oscar acted as the big brother of the town, the parents behind did not make trouble anymore, and the registration went smoothly and quickly. After Oscar brought Xiao Kalin back to the animal pet space, he and Xiao Wu ate watermelon next to him, completely like a harmless kid, and he didn't feel at all that there was a 400 soul beast for many years. At this moment, Xiao Walqi, who had just run away, came back again, holding a big watermelon in his hand, and shouting at Oscar and the others, "Xiao Oscar, Xiao Wu, you have worked hard. Uncle Chubby brought you a watermelon. Already? Ask for a ticket." End of this chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89. Oscar and Xiao Wu have become examiners. Hearing Xiao Walqi shout, Li Yusong turned his head quickly. He hated Xiao Walqi to the core. Shouldn't he respect the old and love the young? Shouldn't you respect the youngest first? My mouth has been dry for a long time. I didn't even drink my saliva, but a few pieces of watermelon were eaten by those two brats, and you gave them what they ate. But I have been dry for a long time. No matter, you are still a person. When he was complaining about Xiao Walqi, he saw pieces of sweet watermelon appeared in front of his eyes. His old face suddenly smiled like a chrysanthemum. It turned out that this watermelon was sent by Oscar and Xiao Wu. Of course, the two of them took the watermelon from others and returned it. The most important thing is that these teachers must have heard the two deans who don't want billion speak ill of him. The first impression of Oscar is definitely very bad, so Oscar should cultivate his relationship well now, so that he can cheat him even more in the future. When Xiao Wuji saw that these two little kids were so kind to Li Yusong, he felt a little uncomfortable. The watermelon he gave them was given to another old man. He was really mad at me. He decided to separate them. He quickly greeted Oscar and Xiao Wu and said, "Little Oscar, Xiao Wu, you two must be bored after being busy for so long. Anyway, there are not many people outside now, so I will take you inside to visit Shrek Academy." Xiao Wu jumped up and down. When she heard that, she said happily, Okay, let's visit the academy." Oscar is also very curious about what Shrek looks like inside. Is it really like the one in the anime? So Xiao Wuji led the two of them into Shrek Academy. This Shrek Academy is a village. All the buildings are made of wood. It is really appropriate to describe these buildings as simple and plain. After walking for a short distance, they came to the center of Shrek Academy. There was a large open space in the center, and this large open space was also very busy now, because the candidates who had passed Li Yusong's exam before were taking the second exam here. Xiao Wuji pointed to that side and said to Oscar and Xiao Wu, "The second test is to evaluate the soul power and martial soul appraisal of these candidates. As a soul master, strong soul power alone is not enough to prove his future development. Potential. This second test mainly tests the martial soul, and only those candidates who have sufficient development potential and have developed the martial soul correctly in the previous practice can pass. Of course, what Aozhou said was a little bit worse. That is, if the examinee's martial spirit is special and weird like Oscar's sausage martial spirit, or if he has a powerful soul beast like Oscar, he can also pass. As for Aozhou, it is a special case. It is a secret operation. God knows, you know me. It is enough for the teacher to know. Of course, Flender firmly believed that Aozhou would become an excellent soul master in the future. Oscar and Aozhou nodded. They looked at those examinees who were holding a crystal ball glowing with white light, testing their respective soul power. Aozhou continued to explain to them, the crystal ball is used to test the soul power, but the test crystal ball has different colors according to the level. This white crystal ball can only test the soul power of less than 30 levels. If tests over level, will explode this crystal. Wow, it's fun. Aozhou wants to play too. Aozhou stared at the crystal ball and said. Aozhou laughed and said, you can play, but you don't have soul power yet, it won't shine. Oh, Aozhou is no longer playing. Aozhou puffed up her chubby little face and said. Aozhou continued to lead them to walk. They came to the other side of the open space. This place was much deserted compared to the previous one. Aozhou said to them, this is the third level for the college to test candidates. This is to test the application level of soul masters. As an excellent soul master, it is not enough to have soul power and development potential. You also need to have, if a soul master can't control his own martial soul to a certain extent, then it proves that such a soul master is not diligent enough, and our academy still won't accept him. Although Aozhou took the two of them to visit the academy, he still played the role of their teacher unconsciously, explaining to them the things and essentials that a soul master needs to master. Oscar and Aozhou also listened carefully to his explanation, and they also had a correct direction for their future development. Aozhou continued to lead them forward. They came to a winding wooden corridor. This should be the most beautiful place in Shrek Academy. It can not only see the small houses below, but also hear the birds. You smelled the fragrance of flowers, and there was a large water wheel turning next to it, and the sound of drizzling made people feel particularly refreshed and relaxed. They walked through the promenade and came to another open space. There was a circle of wooden houses next to this open space. The space here was much smaller than the previous open space. The most important thing is that there is no one here. Of course, there is still a table and 2 chairs. Oscar and Aozhou are very curious when they see this. Why is there no one in the 4th level? Could it be that the examiner of the 4th test is Aozhou? Aozhou's subsequent words made him understand why no one was here anymore. He didn't want Billion to say, this is the 4th level. This is to test the actual combat ability of the candidates. You two have also seen how good our academy is now. I'm busy, and I, the vice principal, have a lot to do every day, and I haven't even slept well in the past few days. You can see that my eyes are full of silkworms. The corner of Oscar's mouth trembled, and he thought speechlessly, I don't think you are a silkworm, you are an idiot. Aozhou paused for a while, and said again, that is based on the above conditions for reference, so there is no one to be the examiner for this 4th test, and you, as the only students of Shrek Academy, must of course contribute your strength. With the decision of all our teachers, you will be the examiners of this 4th test. Fuck, this old Zao is doing something. Isn't it a joke to let Aozhou and I be the examiners of the 4th level? It is conceivable that those examinees have gone through the first 3 levels of selection, and when they come to the 4th level, they find that the examiners of the 4th level are 2 little kids. What kind of colorful expressions will they have? Exclamation mark. Uncle Chubby, can I refuse? Oscar frowned and looked at Aozhou expectantly. No, I'll leave this place to you. I'll leave first, if I have something to do. Aozhou quickly turned around and left after leaving this sentence, and he ran away again. It turned out that this guy took them to visit the academy as an excuse. He wanted Oscar to be the examiner of the 4th level from the beginning. Ask for a ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 90 Shrek Academy Teachers. Oscar was very angry looking at Aozhou's background, but he was quite happy in his heart. because he will be the examiner of the 4th test from now on. Doesn't that mean that anyone who wants to enter Shrek Academy must pass his test, and it's a decisive hurdle? Hey little monsters, I'm looking forward to your arrival. Oscar laughed wretchedly, and Xiaowu, who was beside him, hastily stretched out her hand to touch his forehead, and said in doubt, "Brother, you don't have a fever either. Then why are you laughing so painfully?" Oscar said to Xiaowu in embarrassment. I'm smiling very happily. Xiaowu, aren't you happy to be an examiner? Xiaowu's small face said angrily. Xiaowu is not happy. Because if you continue to stay here, you will not be able to continue to visit the academy. Smelly fat dead old Xiao. Oscar hurriedly comforted Xiaowu and said, "Xiaowu is good, Big Brother will take you there after we finish our work. Big Brother will help you avenge you in the future." Xiaowu said with her hands on her face. Oscar felt incredible for him to be the examiner. What on earth? Did Flender and Xiaowuqi think to let us be the examiner? Is this also a kind of training for us? In fact, he was right. Flender and Xiaowuqi thought so, and it was more than that. Of course, letting them be examiners was to improve their eyesight and communication skills. Apart from that, it could also exercise those examinees. If those candidates show a slight look of underestimating the enemy, then Shrek will definitely reject them. As a soul master, underestimating the enemy is a big taboo. If you underestimate the enemy and your opponent, then you will definitely die miserably. Even if a lion fights a rabbit, you need to use all your strength. As an excellent soul master, you cannot underestimate the enemy idea. And the next thing that greeted Oscar and Xiaowu was that there was nothing to do except eat watermelon. At first they ate each other, then fed each other, then mouth to mouth, and finally squeezed watermelon. Hey, they eat in all kinds of strange ways, but even so, there is not even a single person here. Because Shrek Academy recruits monsters, but how many monsters can there be in the entire Douluo continent? So they waited until it was getting dark, and there was still no one there. And at this time Xiaowuqi appeared in front of them again. His face was so thick for some reason, he even licked his face and laughed loudly. Oscar, Xiaowu, you two have worked hard. Today's exam is over, alright. I'll take you to meet the other teachers. The eyes of Oscar and Xiaowu could kill him now, but he acted as if he didn't see it. Oscar really admired how he had trained his face to such an extent. Could it be that he rubbed his face against the top of the wall every day? Oscar, Xiaowu and the others were led by Xiaowuqi into a large room. There were several strange people sitting in this room, and the one sitting in the main seat was none other than Fran, the Dean of Shrek Academy, Germany. After seeing Oscar and Xiaowu, Flender showed his wretched look again, and said with a flattering face, "Hey Oscar and Xiaowu are here. You have worked hard all day. But they are all waiting for you." Seeing Flender like this, Oscar knew that nothing good would happen to him, so he just waited for me. Isn't it just waiting for me to cook? Come on, let me introduce you. Of course, I don't need to say much about this one. He is Liu Song, the teacher in charge of the registration. He is a level 61 assault type battle soul emperor martial soul dragon stick. His stick is very hard, Fran said. D pointed to Liu Song, whose hair had been scalded by irons, and said. He pointed to another teacher with one hand. This teacher was straight and had a noble aura. Most importantly, he was also an old man with a goatee, and his hair was all white. It looks like he must be around 60 or 61 years old. Flender said, "This is Mr. Luke Ibn, a level soul emperor, and his martial soul is a star Luo chessboard." Oscar carefully looked at this Shrek teacher who only appeared in a few scenes in the anime. He thought this old man's strength was also very strong, just because his martial spirit was a chessboard. From the name of Xingluo chessboard, you can tell that this is a control type martial spirit. The soul master himself can become a chess player and control the overall situation. He has powerful control over both the enemy and his own side, including the strike effect similar to chess pieces, and the ability to control mobility. This kind of group control spirit is definitely very rare in the Douluo continent. It is not an exaggeration to say that his spirit is a god level spirit, so Oscar believes that Luke Ibn is definitely a very powerful spirit emperor. It's just Oscar's own opinion, and you can only know if he's really strong or not after experiencing it for himself. Oscar and Xiao Wu obediently called Teacher Lu, and Lu Kibin just smiled, because there was a teacher next to him, and he was going to watch a play. The appearance of the teacher next to him is very interesting, because he is dressed like a chef, and he is also fat and naive. He wears a tall chef hat on his head. He has a typical big head, the image of a thick neck. Flender continued to introduce, this is Mr. Xiao, Xiao's in, level 71 food system Soul Saint Martial Soul Jelly Beans. Food is Soul Sage. Oscar's and Xiao Wu's eyes widened suddenly. This chubby and even cute teacher was actually a level 71 Soul Saint. Especially Oscar, although he said he had watched anime in his previous life, he never noticed that this fat teacher would be a Soul Saint. 70 level support system Soul Masters are very rare in the Douluo continent. This level of rarity is close to that of titled Douluo, just like Ningfeng's Year the 7 Treasures Glazed Tile School. He is just a support, it's just a soul sage. Of course Ningfeng's support will be stronger than his, but even this is enough to prove that Xiaozin is strong. It's really surprising that such a soul sage of the food department is an ordinary teacher in Shrek. Oscar and Xiao Wu hurriedly said, Mr. Xiao is good. Xiaozin said with a smile on his chubby face. Little Oscar, Xiao Wu, how are you? Little Oscar, I heard from the dean that the food you cook is 100 times better than mine. I will have a good day today. Try it. Xiao Wu, this is my jelly bean. It's so sweet. While talking, he took out a handful of jelly beans and handed them to Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu was very happy to see the jelly beans in her hand, because the jelly beans turned out to be in 7 colors. Could this be Skittles? Oscar looked at the candy in Xiao Wu's hand, and a picture of a giraffe eating a rainbow suddenly appeared in his mind. Ask for a ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 91 Magic Skittles. Oscar was very curious about the spell that this chubby teacher Xiaozin summoned jelly beans. He looked at Xiaozin expectantly and said, Teacher Xiao, Xiao Wu has jelly beans to eat. What about mine? Xiaozin felt helpless looking at Oscar, who was not tall, and blinked his eyes. He smiled and said, haha, I only have this little jelly beans left. Just wait a moment. I saw Xiaozin's chubby body twirling in circles and shouting loudly, if you meet a rainbow, you will eat it. Oscar thought, sure enough, only this sentence is suitable for his rainbow jelly bean, but there is no tall and big giraffe, so, bad review. Oscar finally understands why his appearance effects are so rare, because his special effects are too expensive. If there are always grand occasions where he releases martial arts, then the animation team will definitely be very tight on funds. The colors of his soul rings are terrifying. They are 2 yellows, 2 purples, and 3 blacks. This is a perfect configuration. Aside from his strength, this fully equipped soul ring is better than other soul masters on the mainland. Of course, this is not where he spends the most money. What he spends the most is the special effects of his soul skills. The special effects of his release soul skills are 7 colors of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and purple. The special effects of these 7 colors are crisscrossed, and finally the effect of turning into jelly beans is very expensive just by looking at it, and each of these jelly beans all exude colorful light. The moment Xiaozin withdrew his soul power, the jelly beans in the whole room fell to the ground like freshly popped popcorn. On the head, the teachers felt very speechless. It was just a child who wanted jelly beans. As for releasing the martial soul, haha, little Os, eat as much as you want. There is still enough. You have to let me eat too later. Xiaozin laughed. Shrek really deserves to be Shrek. Not only the students are monsters, even the teacher is so abnormal. I just want a candy to taste. As for making these, and the moment Xiaozin finished speaking, Oscar pulled Xiao Wu to pick up jelly beans frantically, because at the moment he just looked at Xiaozin, the teachers who were sitting on the chairs to relax, they all squatted down. Pick up jelly beans on the ground. You don't need to think about how precious this jelly bean is. Even the monster teachers like Shrek are so crazy, so this jelly bean is naturally beneficial. They swept every corner of the room. Even the trash cans in the corners were turned upside down. After a while, they sat back on their chairs calmly, and they couldn't see the frantic appearance of them snatching jelly beans just now. It was Flender who broke the embarrassing situation. He stopped his throat and said, ahem, Mr. Xiao's colorful jelly beans are very precious. Even we don't see so many jelly beans on weekdays. Today we still have them. Thanks to you. Does this jelly bean have any special boosting ability? Oscar asked curiously. Xiaozin waved his hand and said nonchalantly, this colorful candy ball doesn't have any boost ability. It's just that holding it in your mouth can heal some injuries. That's all. It's alright if you can recover from your injuries. This is not treating other auxiliary soul masters as human beings. No wonder no one from Shrek Academy was injured at all. It turned out to be Fat Skittles. As long as he makes some jelly beans, wouldn't everyone have a support by their side? Xiaozin continued to say indifferently, and this jelly bean still has a shelf life. As long as it exceeds 7 days, it will have no effect. The corner of Oscar's mouth twitched, and he thought speechlessly, "No, you are versatiles, right? It also has a 7-day shelf life. No wonder these teachers are vying for it. You are not a jelly bean. You are the fairy bean of the cat fairy. Even my big sausage and the anime has a hour shelf life, but your broken jelly beans have 7 days. Why can't you store them for a year?" No wonder I have never seen this Xiaozin leave the academy. It turned out that he didn't need to leave the academy at all. As long as he made a handful of jelly beans, he could help these teachers. Oscar is now particularly looking forward to how long the shelf life of his enhanced sausage will be. If it is only 7 days longer than the shelf life of this broken jelly bean, he will definitely protest against the god of cookery system. After Oscar knew the effect of the jelly beans, he also felt very boring, because he found that it was useless for him to grab so many jelly beans. This Skittle candy can only be stored for 7 days, and in the remaining 7 days, he and Xiao Wu will stay in Shrek Academy to recruit students. It is absolutely safe in Shrek Academy. Oscar said to Xiao Wu, who was stuffing jelly beans into Xiao Wu's mouth. Xiao Wu, you should eat less, because if you eat too much, it will cause tooth decay. Oh, Xiao Wu got it. Xiao Wu said with her mouth bulging. Fatty Xiaozin, who was still pretending just now, felt very helpless by Oscar's words. Oscar was right. His jelly beans were good in everything but too sweet, which was very bad for children's teeth. Alright, but being told by that brat Oscar, why does it feel so shocking? After the teachers introduced themselves, he and Xiao Wu also introduced themselves solemnly. Of course, it was a very interesting introduction. Xiao Wu still said mischievously, "My name is Xiao Wu, dancing dance." In order to match Xiao Wu's introduction, Oscar said mischievously, "My name is Oscar, O from Oria, Snooker from Snooker, and Ka from Kakarot." When the teachers heard Xiao Wu's introduction task, Xiao Wu was indeed very naughty, but when it was Oscar's turn to introduce, why did they feel so speechless? The most important thing is that they don't know what the 3 things he said are. Of course, in order to maintain their image of being knowledgeable and talented teachers, they didn't ask too much. Afterwards, Oscar tactfully asked where Xiaozin's kitchen was. He knew that he couldn't escape cooking a meal, but he didn't want to make 10 dishes and 2 soups for them. After all, that would be very troublesome, and he planned to take Xiao Wu to visit Shrek Academy after dinner. So he started kneading noodles again. This time he wanted to make noodles, but he didn't want to have stretched noodles, because his figure didn't allow him to do so at all. So he ordered a wide strip of sliced noodles. After a while, several large bowls of noodles were brought in front of those teachers, and they began to confide in a very rude way, because they were all old men, and the eating seemed really embarrassing. And their faces are also full of happiness and satisfaction. Each and every old face is rosy, and the youngest Xiaozin, the chubby and cute face, is also like a hail of bullets has just been released, very satisfied. He asked Oscar curiously, "Oscar, how do you make your noodles so delicious? How do you make them?" Oscar quickly stopped eating the noodles and explained, "Look at this noodle, it's long and wide. Look at this bowl, it's big and round. Ask for a ticket." End of this chapter. Chapter 92. The pie falls from the sky. And in the next few days, he and Xiao Wu continued to take their positions as examiners, and in the past few days, not even one person reached the 4th level. Really bad. Of course, this is also a normal situation, because Shrek Academy only accepts monsters, but the location of the academy is really too remote, and only those from poor families can be recruited to sign up, and the children who grew up in those poor families' parents' martial souls are not strong. How can they be so strong? Just like how Can there be any poor people among the Shrek 7 monsters? Daimube is the prince of the Star Luo Empire, and Oscar's life experience has always been a mystery. But how can he be an ordinary person with innate full soul power? Not to mention Tang San's family as the protagonist. His father is Tang Rishan. Just ask if you are afraid. And Xiao Wu is a 10-year soul beast. Ning Rangrang is the suzerain of the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Zhu Zuking is also one of the heirs of the big families in the Star Luo Empire. And the remaining Mahanjan's martial soul is Phoenix. As he himself said, he is a mutant of a grass chicken. Who can believe that? Do you think you are an ugly duckling? Can you turn into a swan casually? These few people came out from the big family to stroll and play, just like the Great Voyage next door. At first, they thought it was a group of children looking for freedom, but later found out that it was a group of young masters and young ladies who came out to travel and explore. So it is still very difficult for Shrek to receive the real monster. At least he has to wait for a few years. And after Oscar and Xiao Wu finished their tasks, Flender proposed that they should go back to his small shop that night. It was too awkward on the college side. Waking them up like a swarm of flies is annoying. As an elderly person who can't sleep and wakes up early, go to the square to do take-eye, but they didn't want to. They had to be together. So Oscar and Xiao Wu had suffered their brilliance these few days, and their dark circles came out. So they proposed to leave Shrek Academy immediately after completing the task. Even if Flender doesn't agree with them staying in his small shop, they will go out and buy a house to live in. They are not short of money now, and they won't stay in Shrek Academy anyway. And after they proposed to leave Shrek Academy, Flender agreed unexpectedly, because Flender thought it would be useless for them to live here. The two of them didn't even have soul power, and it was still too reluctant as students now, so he still decided to wait until Oscar awakened his martial spirit, and then let him be tortured by these teachers. Oscar and Xiao Wu felt the feeling of weightlessness again, and returned to Soto City. Soto City is peaceful now. Since the two directors left, the city lord of Soto City has straightened his back and straightened his legs. Not sour anymore. He now feels that he is more than happy, and his current appearance depends entirely on the Shrek group. Without their troubles, he would not be where he is today. So he is especially grateful to Flender and Xiao Wu, but they are like gods and dragons. Can't catch their whereabouts. He wanted to go to their academy and prepare generous gifts to thank them, but he was afraid that people would ignore him. Even if they ignored him, if they were hostile to him, his happiness would be ruined by a single word of disagreement, and the gain would outweigh the loss. So this made him struggle for a long time, and finally he thought of a good way. He thought of the two children who were the culprits of all this. I can't catch the deans, and I can't catch the two little kids. So he was in a daze again. He really couldn't catch him. He sent people to search for 8 days, but he didn't even see the two children. Just when he was about to give up, his subordinates actually reported that the two children had appeared at the south gate, which made him suddenly happy. He immediately ordered the soldiers to stop them and wait for his arrival. So Oscar and Xiao Wu were in a daze. They just stepped into the south city gate, and they were going to go back to take a bath together and then sleep with him for a day and a night. But this beautiful idea was shattered again, because a group of soldiers armed with big guns and shields stopped them. There were about 100 soldiers in this group, which made the two of them confused. Oscar tried hard to think about what he had committed. Isn't it just that time when I took Xiao Wu shopping? I sneaked into the women's dressing room and looked at it for a while. But those big sisters didn't drive him out and hugged him very intimately and rubbed against him for a few times, and he almost gave him a sip of milk. Could it be that there is some lady in there? And Xiao Wu at the side was very scared. He tremblingly clutched Oscar's arm. Oscar of course understood Xiao Wu's thoughts. She absolutely thought that these people were here to arrest her. Oscar found that these soldiers just stopped them and didn't intend to do anything to them. Oscar stretched out his hand to caress Xiao Wu and said gently, Xiao Wu and these people are not hostile to us. Don't worry, I will protect you. Xiao Wu is not afraid of them. Xiao Wu said firmly, looking at these soldiers with sharp eyes. At this moment, a burly and tall man came. This strong man was dressed in a particularly dignified manner, wearing gold and silver, exuding the aura of a superior person. But it was such a person. He actually smiled like a flower and started laughing haha when he was far away. Ha 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 every now and then. This made Oscar feel very strange. Who is this person? Why is he smiling so perverted? This pervert is the Lord of Soto City, and he said with a smile on his face, "You are Oscar and Xiao Wu. You are really easy for me to find. Let me introduce myself as Soren, the Lord of Soto City. Thank you for making me feel happy again." Oscar was very disgusted with the wording of the city lord. "What do you mean we'll let you regain the feeling of happiness? We are neither him nor me." Soren continued, "In order to express my gratitude to you, the villa next to the Lord's mansion of Soto City is given to you, and there are gold soul coins here for your safekeeping. 2 tokens. From now on you can do whatever you want in Soto City with these 2 tokens. You can go wherever you want. Even if you come to my city lord's mansion, no one will dare to stop you." Oscar felt the token in his hand and the large box of golden soul coins, and felt that this was all a dream. Did the pie fall from the sky today? How did it hit me? The city owner should also thank Flender and Xiao Walki. Then he thought of the city lord's idea, thanking the 2 of them, as long as they use gold soul coins. But thanks to the 2 powerful soul saints, it can't be solved with money alone. What about the tickets? End of this chapter. Chapter 93 The Little Beggar with Red Hair. Oscar took Xiao Wu's hand and leisurely came to the villa given to them by the city lord Soren. They couldn't describe their feelings after they came here. How to say, "Shit, this villa is very grand. I wanted to write a poem to describe it, but I'm not educated, so I said it is so big. There is a villa here. This is simply a small manor. This villa has 3 floors, and the roofs are still pointed, just like a small castle in the previous life. And in front of this villa there is a large yard, and in the center of this large yard there is a passage, which is covered with a red carpet, and there are several people standing at the door of this villa. There was an energetic little old man and 4 young and beautiful little girls who were welcoming them. You could tell without looking that they were the housekeepers and servants of this villa. They stood in a row and bowed slightly and said, "Master, Miss." Oscar nodded and thought, "This castellan is really good. This also comes with servants. Do you want me to pay for it?" And Xiao Wu on the side said fiercely, "Xiao Wu is not a young lady. You are the young lady. Xiao Wu is the young mistress." "Yes, young mistress." The housekeeper and servants quickly changed their words. They got to know their respective names through questioning. The little old man was named Wang Kei, and the 4 maids were called Chun, Xia, Qiu and Ang respectively. And this villa has never been lived in before, because it used to be the home of the city lord Soren, when he was not the city lord servant. Oscar and Xiao Wu came to the villa under the guidance of the butler Wang Kei. Compared with the Shrek Academy, the decorations here are simply different. Every decoration here exudes glamorous light. The most important thing is that the more they walked inside, the more they felt familiar. They suddenly found that all the decorations here are not too different from the decorations in the Rose Hotel, especially in the bedroom, which is so sentimental and indispensable. The petals, the heart-shaped soft bed, and the most important sentimental fragrance surround the bedroom. The most important thing is that this place is much bigger than the Rose Hotel. Xiao Wu's eyes were full of joy. It could be seen that she liked this place very much. She couldn't help admiring, "Wow, this place is so beautiful. This place is even more beautiful than the interior decoration of Rose Hotel. Xiao Wu likes this place." Butler Wang Kei replied from the side, "Young mistress is right. Our place is indeed more beautiful than the Rose Hotel, because the Rose Hotel is decorated according to our place." "How dare the Rose Hotel be decorated according to the Santos house?" Oscar asked curiously. Butler Wang Kei quickly replied, "Of course the Rose Hotel doesn't dare. This is the city lord's acquiescence." The butler didn't talk anymore when he said this, and naturally he didn't need to say anything after that, and of course he didn't dare to say it. Oscar thought to himself, "It seems that Soren, the city lord, is also a man of temperament. Fortunately, we are not the same people." Oscar and Xiao Wu walked around the rest of the rooms, and finally they decided not to stay here today, because before they moved here, they had to report to Flender or Xiao Walki. If they didn't know they were here, definitely will be in a hurry. And they still haven't figured out what kind of person this city lord Soren is. They need to discuss it with Flender, the old fox. So they went back to Flender's shop, and they naturally fulfilled their wonderful fantasies, took a bath together, and went straight to sleep. This time they blocked the door tightly with 2 cabinets, saving the old man Flounder, who didn't want Billion to open the door with a key. Fortunately, they were dressed last time, otherwise he would have seen them all. So they have taken complete measures, so they are presumptuous. After a night of nothing, the next day the sun shone 3 poles, and the hot sun had already shone on their buttocks, which made Oscar feel very comfortable, and he really wanted to lie down like this forever. But they rang Ada again, so you don't need to guess who is coming. This is definitely Flender. There will be no one else. There is a thief who would be stupid to steal things in broad daylight. That thief's IQ is really crazy. So Oscar and Xiaowu didn't get up to talk to him. They still hugged each other tightly and continued their sweet dreams. But after they heard the door lock being opened, they heard the sound of locking the door again, which made them very curious. Is this Flender having fun? Knowing that they didn't get up, you actually use the sound of unlocking the lock as an alarm to wake them up. Is this Flender so boring? Certainly not. This made Oscar feel that something was wrong. If Flender found out that the door could not be opened, he would have knocked on the door and made them wake up to open the door for him. How could he play around here and there? So Oscar let Xiao Kaylin out in order to confirm who the outer door was. Little Kaylin, can you feel who is outside the door? Little Kaylin blinked her fuzzy eyes when she came out and said lazily, Master, there is a kid about your age secretly opening the door outside. Fuck, Oscar was surprised. Or thief came here in broad daylight. This child's IQ is really a bit of a chicken. So Oscar and Xiaowu got up quickly. They quickly put on their clothes, turned out the window, and walked around to the store in trance. They saw a big fat kid at a glance. Why did they say he was a big fat kid? Because the thief's butt is very big, and his height is not as tall as Oscar. His figure is still a bit chubby. It is worth noting what he is wearing. He was poorly dressed. His clothes were tattered, and his shoes looked like a hungry crocodile with its big mouth showing its big teeth, and he also wore a broken straw hat on his head. A suit of attire is a little beggar. However, there was one thing that didn't match his body, and that was his hair. His hair was actually red. This particular hair color made Oscar think of someone, but Oscar was not sure it was him. So he and Xiaowu came behind this fat little beggar. Oscar suddenly scolded, Little fat man, what are you doing here? This little fat man is concentrating on hooking this iron hook back and forth against the crack of the door. He was curious why he couldn't push the door open, even though he had already opened it. At this moment he heard someone shouting at him behind him, but he didn't turn his head, because just now more than one person was talking about him behind his back. But as long as he ignored them, those people would leave soon, because those people regarded him as mentally ill. End of this chapter. Chapter 94. Flender whipped Mahanjan. Not to mention that those people regarded this little fat man as mentally ill. Even Oscar thought he was mentally ill. A little fat man with red hair and rags and a torn straw hat was standing at the door of a store when the sun was shining. There is a broken iron hook hooking there blindly. The key is that you can open it if you can, but the most important thing is that you can't open it. I don't know what he means by hooking there. Oscar looked at the fat man with red hair and straw hat and thought of someone, but that person would never appear here, because that person is the 4 emperors with red hair Shanks. The most important thing is that Shanks is not fat, and this person the goods are completely fat. Oscar saw that this guy didn't even pay him any attention, which made him very speechless, so he raised a look at Xiaowu. Then the two of them jointly raised their fragrant feet and kicked the little fat man's round buttocks. With the joint efforts of the two, the little fat man was kicked directly on the door, and the fat face it was deformed when it hit the door. With a sound of pata, the little fat man lay straight on the ground and passed out. At this time, Oscar also saw his face clearly. This little fat man has small eyes, and his face is so fat that it bulges. He looks very cute, just like Shrek teacher Shaozin. But this little fat man's face is very ugly now. Besides the ashes on his face, half of his face has become swollen. Oscar smiled when he saw it. This little fat man was none other than Mahanjan, the evil grass chicken. Oscar was very curious, how could this guy appear here? But he didn't have the idea of throwing him outside. After all, this Mahanjan is also a super genius, and also very loyal. Oscar and Xiaowu dragged him into the house with great effort. and when they dragged Mahanjan into the house and were about to wake him up with a whip, a familiar voice came from the door. Huh. The sun came out from the west today. Zio Oscar, Zio Wu, you two got up very early today. Flender's voice came. After hearing Flender's voice, Oscar and Zio Wu quickly turned around to face Flender and hid the small leather whip brought back from the crispy tiger bag behind their backs. Flender wears glasses. His spectacles were so thieves. He had already seen the little leather whips in their hands, and he followed them and looked behind them. He saw that little fat man Mahanjan at a glance, but he didn't show any surprise, but pointed to him and asked, "Huh, why haven't I seen you for a while? Why is his face swollen?" Oscar and Zio Wu blinked their eyes and looked at Flender in amazement when they heard his words. This meant that Flender knew Mahanjan, and they had just separated for a while, which meant that Mahanjan was probably brought back by Flender. Flender's next words verified their thoughts. Flender pointed to Mahanjan, who was lying upright on the ground, and said, "I brought this little fat man back from a small village not far from the north gate of Soto City. His parents, he is the only one left who has no support and no education. I think he is very pitiful, so I brought him back. Just now, I went back to the college first and asked him to come to the store to find you. Why did it take so long? His face is swollen." Oscar and Zio Wu felt very embarrassed. They actually beat Mahanjan as a thief, but who is to blame? It's not up to him to leave the door open and not knock, but to hook it with an iron hook. Who can not treat him as a thief? Isn't he just looking for a beating? Of course, Oscar and Zio Wu would not admit that it was their masterpiece. Oscar quickly said, "The sun is shining today, and Zio Wu and I got up early to wash and dress up. When we opened the door together, we saw a little fat man lying down at the door. On the ground, the two of us looked at him pitifully, so we dragged him into the house, and we were about to feed him some salt soda when you came in, Uncle Four Eyes." That's right. Big Brother and Zio Wu worked hard today, Zio Wu quickly said, but she yawned halfway through her speech, looking very cute. Flender knew the two little kids in front of him really well, and the matter was definitely not what they described, but he didn't go into it any further, since he wasn't the one who hit him anyway. He nodded and said flatly, "Well, be diligent. You have to work hard to maintain." "Uncle Four Eyes, did you really bring him back from a small village?" Oscar asked suspiciously. Flender took a sip of the salt soda and replied, "Nonsense, of course. Let me tell you, that small village is also very interesting, and the martial spirits of all the people in the village basically don't have offensive abilities. He is a powerful chicken, and because this little fat man has no one to discipline him, he has been stealing chickens and dogs since he was young, which annoyed the villagers, so I asked me to take him away." Oscar asked without pausing, "Then how much did they give you?" Flender said without thinking, "Not much, just a few dozen gold soul coins. Oh, there are dozens of golden soul coins." Oscar and Zio Wu said in unison, with a strange voice. Flender also quickly realized that he slipped the tongue, which made him very embarrassed. To cover up the embarrassment, he directly picked up the small leather whip behind Oscar and swung it at Mahanjan, who was lying on the ground with a crack. While suddenly, the cry of killing a pig sounded, and Mahanjan stood up with a carp on the ground in pain. He clutched his fleshy belly and yelled, "Oh my mother, I hurt me to death. That Senpeo beat me with a whip. I made you fart." He suddenly found that standing in front of him was the four-eyed person who brought him here. The four-eyed eyes revealed a murderous look, and he didn't dare to speak any further. Because this guy can play free fall, and because he struggled a little when he was brought back because of dizziness, he almost threw me to death. So he dared not mess with this flying four-eyed. But his words had already been scolded, and it was too late to take them back. He blinked his little eyes and looked at Flender pitifully. But his eyes are far from those of Oscar and Zio Wu. The eyes of Oscar and Zio Wu are full of cuteness. Although his fleshy face is very cute, his current appearance somehow makes him people feel very wretched. Oscar and Zio Wu took a few steps back very consciously, without thinking that Mahanjan's fate would definitely not be good. They covered their little faces with their hands, secretly observing the battle situation that was about to emerge through their fingers. Sure enough, there was an endless stream of crack sounds. Oh yes, there was also the sound of painful tearing. I'll ask for a ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 95 Oscar and Xiao, a showdown. After Flender's very peaceful training, he finally calmed down, and the fat Mahanjan was whipped. To be honest, children do not obey how to do. Please use Flender brand small leather whip to ensure that after whipping, the child will be obedient and never be naughty again. Mahanjan stood obediently in the corner, and Flender stood in front of him and asked with his head, "Say, why is your face swollen?" Mahanjan blinked his small eyes and replied in a dazed way, "You whipped me with a whip." Fahahahaha. Oscar and Xiao, who were in charge of watching the excitement, couldn't help laughing. Pa, another slap of the whip. Flender continued to ask, "I asked why your face was swollen before." "I don't know, I don't feel it," Mahanjan said blankly. He really didn't feel it. The way he woke up was to be woken up. The burning sensation of being whipped was much more painful than his face. Crack, hey, do you know? Flender smiled kindly. Mahanjan hurriedly nodded his head like a kowtow and replied, "Understood. After you threw it at the north gate, I wandered in the street in a daze." Crack, Flender said lovingly. "Get to the point." Mahanjan said painfully, "Isn't this the point now? I wandered around the street and finally found this place, but I found that the gate was closed. I waited and waited at the gate and waited until the sun shone open the door." Crack, Mahanjan blinked his small eyes in a daze because he found that Flender in front of him didn't move at all. This whip was given to him by someone else. He turned his head, and what caught his eyes was a very grey little sister who was holding an identical small whip in her hand, which made him feel very excited and at a loss. He asked Xiao suspiciously, "My sister, why did you hit me? You said something you shouldn't have said." "Xiao thinks you deserve a beating," Xiao said fiercely with a small face. Mahanjan was completely stupefied. "I said something wrong. Just skip over and it's over," he said very cleverly. "Then I used my housekeeping skills to open the lock of this door, but the door is really strong. I even opened the lock, but it still couldn't be opened. So I just got in touch with this door. I have to get him open. I won't be called Mahanjan if I don't get it open. After that I feel a hot feeling coming from my ass." Crack, Mahanjan was at a loss again because he found that neither Flender nor Xiao moved, but the little boy who looked slightly older than him slapped him. He stopped doing it right away. "It's fine if I can't beat you as an adult, but it's very comfortable for my little sister to beat me. But what are you doing?" But this time, before he could ask a question, Oscar said directly, "Little fat man, you talk too much." "My word's a secret?" Mahanjan was confused and didn't know what he was talking about. Flender also roughly knew what happened after Mahanjan's narration, and none of these brats could be at ease. Oscar and Xiao must have regarded Mahanjan as a thief, or else he happened to see them when he came in. The two are holding small leather whips. That means they want to interrogate Mahanjan. Fortunately, he came in time, otherwise Mahanjan Kendi would have been whipped. If Mahanjan knew his thoughts, he would definitely praise him for not wanting billion. Oscar asked very puzzled, "Mahanjan, why didn't you knock when you found the door closed?" Mahanjan replied proudly, "Master, I have never knocked on the door before entering, and I opened it myself when I knocked." "Beautiful, you really deserve a beating," Oscar exclaimed. Oscar took out 2 jelly beans from his arms, threw them to Mahanjan and said, "Eat it. Eat your injury, and it will heal." Mahanjan wasn't suspicious either. He put it in his mouth and sucked it up, and his injuries recovered quickly. The most important thing is that his injuries were not serious, and Flender's whippings were not serious at all. No use too hard. Flender then introduced each other. Oscar and Xiao were very uncomfortable with this sudden addition of a friend, because their 2-person world was about to become a 3-person world. This made the small Flender shop, which was not that big, a bit crowded, so he and Xiao discussed it and decided to move out. So they had a showdown with Flender, and Oscar and Xiao said directly, "We have DBI, we have a big carriage, we have an old housekeeper and 4 beautiful maids, and the most important thing is that we have 10,000 gold soul coin deposit." Of course, Flender couldn't believe it. He stretched out his hand and touched their foreheads on the spot to make sure they didn't have a fever. After making sure that they didn't have a fever, he became even more terrified. He said in pain, "It's over. My godson and daughter-in-law have been dazed together since they were so young. Not to mention that Flender didn't believe it. Even the little chubby Mahanjan didn't believe it. Mahanjan joked, "I'll show you how affectionate you are, so you're going to be so stupid now." Oscar and Xiao Wu looked at each other in disbelief and smiled. So they led them to their bedroom, and when they lifted the quilt, they believed it, because there were golden soul coins under the bed. This is of course Oscar's masterpiece, and he didn't dare to show it so blatantly before, but now with the gift of the City Lord, he can do whatever he wants. The most important thing is that they don't show their cards to Flender, and the two of them will know it soon, because the two children were given gold soul coins and villas by the City Lord. No. So of course Oscar had to make a fuss about it. With so many golden soul coins, of course he had to enjoy the feeling of sleeping on them. He just liked the smell. So now it happened that the under the quilt was full of gold soul coins. Of course this is not all the gold soul coins, but only a small part. After all, he and Xiao Wu can't carry a box around and chatter about it. When Flender and Mahanjan saw the golden soul coins placed on the whole bed, they were stunned. They couldn't believe what happened before them. Flender directly reached out and patted the back of Mahanjan's head, and Mahanjan yelled in pain. Flender was shocked and said, "Wow, this is not a dream. It's real." Mahanjan also shouted, after knowing the pain, "My father. It's true. There must be tens of thousands of gold soul coins." Oscar and Xiao Wu pinched their waists with special expressions, but Flender was just stunned for a moment, and he immediately realized where these two little brats got so many gold soul coins, and they would not take anyone. The bank of the house has been robbed. Flender asked seriously, "Little Oscar, tell me, where did you get these golden soul coins?" Ticket. End of this chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96. Flender calls Oscar Papa. Afterwards, Oscar told Flender what had happened, and Flender was overjoyed after hearing it, because the City Lord was showing his favor to them. Flender couldn't help praising the City Lord Soren in his heart, calling him an old fox, because after Nalua Tangji and Pukan left, the City Lord Soren would be the boss. As long as Shrek didn't cause them any trouble, then he would become the Soil Emperor of this Soto city, and he can earn peace in the future with a small investment. What is the 100,000 gold soul coins, and that villa to him, the City Lord? But this has already satisfied Flender. After all, this is an empty-handed white wolf, and the pie fell from the sky, so what can he do, even if he doesn't show his favor? Flender stared longingly at the golden bed in front of him. His wrinkled face showed a pitiful look. He turned his head to look at Oscar and Xiao Wu fierily, and said tenderly, "Little Oscar, Xiao Wu, as a member of Shrek, you should congratulate yourself for doing your part. I have no money." Oscar replied reflexively. After he finished saying this, he knew that he had said something wrong. If Flender would have believed it before, but now he has shown it, and said that he has no money. Isn't this place without 300 gold soul coins? Exclamation mark. Oscar said meaningfully, "Four-eyed uncle, it's not that I don't give you the money. We plan to use these golden soul coins as bride price and dowry when we grow up." Flender's face is full of black lines. This little brat is saving a wedding gift now. It's so fucking true that when you get married, you won't be able to save an empire. He is determined to win the golden soul coin in front of him. As long as the golden soul coin is targeted by me, he will not escape. So he changed his previous routine. This time he was very straightforward, without sloppy at all, and yelled at Oscar, "Dad." "Fuck Oscar." Xiao Wu and Mahanjan at the side said in shock at the same time. Is this the Flender they know? Does the dignified soul sage not want billions so much for the golden soul coin? Is this Flender always soliciting sponsorship outside for Shrek Academy? I don't want billion, but it makes people feel very sad for no reason. This Flender is really a good dean. I really do my best for the teachers and students of the college. Oscar quickly stepped aside and said in horror, "Four-eyed uncle, don't be like this. You make me feel very scared. I'm afraid that I will die suddenly." Like a follower, Flender followed behind Oscar and said, "No, you are rich, and you are my benefactor father. If you don't give me this golden soul coin today, I won't leave. Oscar joked. If you don't leave, don't leave. Anyway, this is your shop. Yeah, this is my shop. In my shop, then this golden soul coin is mine. Hahaha, Flender said with a smile that gradually became lewd. Oscar couldn't help but praise Flender's reflex arc in his heart, as it is in his shop, but Oscar was on his guard, so there was only gold soul coins here, and he put the rest in the little black snake. After all, it was safest to put it on his body. But Flender is not stupid, he put far less than golden soul coins on the bed. He smiled at Oscar again. Little Oscar, the so-called half of the meeting, you can get the villa and golden soul coins. You and your fat uncle don't contribute too much. Let's just like this, you want a big villa, how about me and your fat uncle sharing the golden soul coins equally? Oscar didn't even look at him, but even Xiao Wu gave him a hard look. How did Flender manage to not want billions so much? Seeing that the two benefactor fathers ignored him, Flender took a step back and said, then I don't want such a big villa. Let's get points for the gold soul coins. 8 for us, and 2 for you two. You're only 2. Oscar and Xiao Wu shouted angrily. I'm 2. How about 3 7s? 4 6? 5 5s? Flender said with an increasingly bitter face. Oscar and Xiao Wu finally agreed to split with Flender. After all, Flender and Xiao Walqi deserved credit for getting the money, and as students of Shrek, they are also obliged to sponsor some. Of course, more is not enough, because he and Xiao Wu are already planning to move out, so they have to have their own small coffers, and they have to keep servants and so on. After all, that kind of expense is not too small. Of course, this is all about Flender. Flender didn't go too far, because what Oscar said was indeed reasonable. If it was really as big as he said, it would definitely cost a lot on weekdays. 50,000 gold soul coins is indeed a lot of money for a poor family, but it is nothing to those rich people. Just like Soren, the lord of Soto City, the 100,000 gold soul coins to him, it was just drizzle. To an ordinary person, the 100,000 gold soul coins he spent was nothing more than 1 silver soul coin. But there is a saying that ginger is still old and hot. After Oscar agreed with it, Flender said on the spot that he would visit his DBI. This made Oscar feel a bad premonition. He felt that Flender was about to do something terrifying. So he guessed right. When he saw those beautiful maids, he decided in an instant that he would live here in the future, and the fat Mahanjan was also entrusted to the two of them to take care of. This made Oscar feel very speechless. Originally he was going to live a 2-person world with Xiao Wu, but who would have thought that this guy would bring his family along with him? Of course this is far from it. On the second day, Flender actually brought all the teachers. He pretended that there were no other students in Shrek Academy, so he brought the teachers here to experience a happy life. So on that day, these maids and housekeepers were exhausted. On that night, Oscar reluctantly took out several thousand gold soul coins and handed them over to the housekeeper, 1K, so that he could sell a few more servants back. As a result, the originally deserted big villa in Uoda became very lively in just a few days, which made Oscar speechless to the point where he wanted to take Xiao Wu back to Flender's shop. Fortunately, they only stayed here for a month. During this month, the soul power of Oscar and Xiao Wu did not increase at all, because this group of teachers surrounded them all the time, which made Oscar and Xiao Wu not even time to eat a meal alone. This made the two of them feel like their days were like years. Fortunately, they didn't disturb them when they were sleeping at night. If they disturbed them again, they would definitely move out again. Ask for a ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 97. 5 years later, Xiao Wu, we planted it. Oscar and Xiao Wu hoped for the stars and hoped for the moon, and finally they left this group of bad old men who didn't want billion. Fortunately, they had enough gold soul coins, otherwise they would definitely be poor this month. After they left, Oscar and Xiao Wu finally ushered in the happy time they dreamed of day and night. They ate and slept, ate and slept, ate and played, and went for a walk. In this way, they spent a long period of time. 5 years later, the scorching sun shone on the bustling streets of Soto City. 2 children, a man and a woman, walked on the street. However, these 2 children seemed to be much taller than other children of the same age. He is tall and has a particularly slender figure, which can be called two small versions of handsome men and beautiful women. Their clothes are also very conspicuous. The boy is wearing a small white suit and a small black sunglasses on his head. Even his silver white hair seems to be licked by a calf, like a son of a rich family. And the girl next to him is only half a head taller than this boy, and this girl is really pretty. Her long silky black hair was combed into neat scorpion braids. Even the braids hung past her calves, and she was dressed very beautifully. She is wearing a light gauze lace dress. The pink looks very light, with silver embroidered edges and rhinestones embellished with crystal and clarity. Her slender and crisp neck exposed her collarbone, and there was a pink gemstone necklace on that snow white neck. The white belt outlines a slender waist that cannot be easily grasped and has the immature greenness of a girl, which looks unique. And her curved eyebrows are formed naturally. A pair of big watery eyes coupled with that chubby little face not only makes people feel very beautiful, but also gives people a somewhat delicate feeling, and passers-by can't help it. I marvel at whose family's child looks so delicate. And passers-by were praising the little girl, but not the little boy. But the little boy didn't look angry or jealous at all. Instead, he was very proud as he walked further and further away. The girl took the boy's hand and said mischievously, "Big brother, today is the day for the college to recruit students again. Let's go back quickly, or those bad old men will come to our house again, to eat and drink gone." The boy said very angrily, "How they still have the face to eat and drink? How many times have they come here in the past few years, and if they eat up like this, our family will be poor by them." Although the boy said so, they still rushed home very quickly. The man and the woman were exactly Oscar and Xiao Wu, who had just returned from a stroll in the street. Today is Shrek Academy's annual big day to steal money. Of course, the two of them need them to sit in as the examiners of the 4th level, but they are not in a hurry, because the students want to pass the first 3 levels, and reach the 4th level, at least in the afternoon, and it's only noon now. So they were not in a hurry, but took a stroll around the street first, and bought a few sets of clothes by the way. If Flender saw their deep looks, he would definitely be pissed off. And they quickly returned home, got into the carriage, and were driven by the butler to Shrek Academy. There was still a long queue at the entrance of Shrek Academy, and Oscar was already tired of watching this group of people standing in the queue. After he brought Xiao Wu to Li Yusong and called Teacher Li, he took Li Yusong's watermelon away, leaving Li Yusong with a bitter face thinking, "It's been 5 years. It's been 5 years. They take away my watermelons every year. Fortunately, I secretly kept a piece this year." He took out a piece of watermelon from under the table and put it in his mouth. His expression was full of enjoyment. And Oscar and Xiao Wu went to the shady place in the old place and started to eat. But this shady place is very strange this year, because since a watermelon seedling grew out of this place and a small watermelon grew on it. Although this watermelon is not very big, it is also the result. Xiao Wu was very happy about this. She stretched out her hand to caress the little watermelon and said very cutely, "Big brother, after many times of hard work, we finally planted it." It turns out that this watermelon seedling is the masterpiece of Oscar and Xiao Wu. They felt too bored when they ate watermelon here last year, so they dug a hole, buried some soil, counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and buried the watermelon seeds into the pit. And this year, the two of them finally saw the watermelon. No wonder the little dance party was so happy. Oscar also felt very happy when he heard Xiao Wu's words. As Xiao Wu said, they actually planted it, even though it's just a small watermelon, not Xiao Wu. They came to the side of the small watermelon, stroking the small watermelon, while eating the big watermelon. Oscar and Xiao Wu started their boring journey again. You ate the big watermelon and the small watermelon one by one, and Li Yusong over there also started to get busy. Unsurprisingly, there were still people making trouble, and of course it was resolved after Oscar released little Kaylin. No one dared to ask for money from this 400-year-old soul beast. After they finished eating the watermelon, Oscar conjured a bed out of his little black snake, and the two of them lay there to rest, as if there was no one beside them. Of course they didn't hug each other, it would be too embarrassing, although Oscar is not shy, but a little girl like Xiao Wu can't stand this kind of thing. Lying on the bed, Oscar was recalling all kinds of things and achievements in the past 5 years. First, when he was about 6 years old, Flender and those teachers organized a ceremony to awaken his martial soul. At that time, Flender and the rest of the teachers were like magic sticks. They made 6 black stones and placed them on the ground, letting him stand in the middle. If this was in the previous life, I would definitely think that this is a group of psychopaths bluffing and deceiving. Of course, Oscar thought at the time that it was a group of mental illnesses falling ill in front of him. These teachers shot together, and 6 emerald green rays of light were injected into the 6 black stones, and a layer of light immediately enveloped Oscar in it. Of course, Oscar cooperated very well in releasing his sausage-enhanced martial spirit. When the teachers saw that Oscar's martial spirit was food type, they did not express disappointment, but were delighted, especially Flender. It was even more joyful, because this big sausage spirit is especially suitable for Oscar. Oscar has a natural talent for food. They believe that Oscar will definitely develop this big sausage spirit to perfection, and it is definitely not just an auxiliary spirit. Isn't this step a bit big? End of this chapter. Chapter 98. The harvest in 5 years. Flender then handed him a blue crystal ball. Of course, this crystal ball was used to test the soul power, and Oscar immediately released the soul power shocked. Because Oscar was born full of soul power. Why is it full of soul power? Of course it is double the full soul power. This completely broke their cognition. According to their cognition, the most powerful genius is only born with the full 10th level of soul power, but Oscar's soul power is actually a congenital level 20 soul power. Unheard of, unseen. Of course, they accepted this situation calmly later on. There are many strange things on Douluo Dalu, especially around them. For example, Shaozin is a 70 level food system soul saint. It's strange enough. And for example, the master of the 3 canons they are familiar with can study title Douluo before reaching level, so they are no strangers to it. As for why Oscar's spirit power is at level 20 instead of more than, it is of course because he has not found a second god level kitchen utensil. So his kitchen utensil spirit has not yet attached a second soul ring, so he couldn't break through the level of soul power, and if he wanted to break through again, he had no choice but to add a soul ring to the big sausage. Martial soul. In the past 5 years, he has also attached 2 yellow century-old soul rings, and his soul power level has reached level 29. What is worth mentioning is that his 2 century-old soul rings have completely broken the 3 canon master theory, because the 2 soul beasts he hunted and killed were both soul beasts that were nearly 1,000 years old. Of course, those teachers were not there when he hunted the soul beasts, and there was no need to be there because he had the existence of Xiao Kalin, who was completely acting as a thug, and dealing with these 2 little soul beasts was not a piece of cake. What? And this year, Xiao Wu was also asked to hold an awakening ceremony by this group of psychopaths, which of course was rejected by Oscar. Oscar directly asked Xiao Wu to release her soul power, and this group of bad old men was shocked again. Because Xiao Wu's soul power has reached level 22, and there are 200-year-old soul rings, this scene happened in front of them, and compared with Oscar's situation, they were shocked. These 2 little monsters are really better than each other. Monster. Of course, Oscar made a very reasonable excuse for Xiao Wu. Like him, Xiao Wu also had an innate soul power of level, and he had already awakened his martial spirit with Xiao Wu. By the way, he hunted and killed 2 Xiao Wu soul beast. Flender and the others were very surprised that Xiao Wu also had an innate soul power of level 22. They both had innate soul power of level, and Xiao Wu had secretly cultivated to level. This speed was too fast. Later, Flender and the others believed it very much, because Oscar never played cards according to the routine, and he really did such a thing as secretly leading Xiao Wu to hunt and kill 2 soul beasts. With the existence of the 10th level, their ability to accept has obviously become stronger, so they also accepted Xiao Wu's situation calmly. They were very happy that Shrek could receive these 2 peerless monsters, which made their smiles never stop in the following days. At that time, these teachers did not help Xiao Wu awaken her martial soul, which made them feel very empty, and then they settled for the next best thing, and awakened the martial soul for Fat Mahanjan. Compared with Oscar and Xiao Wu, although Fat Mahanjan is also an extremely talented person, but compared to Oscar and Xiao Wu, he was much inferior. On the day he awakened his martial soul, those teachers didn't expect that much, because Flender told them that the martial souls of their entire village are all poultry that are not afraid of aggressiveness, so his martial soul is not unexpected. In this case, it's either a chicken or a duck. These teachers acted like a group of psychopaths and helped Mahanjan awaken his martial soul. At the beginning, this guy's martial soul was indeed a grass chicken, but then it suddenly turned into a fire phoenix, and the eyes of this fire phoenix were particularly strange. Zmei, it doesn't look like a good bird. And his soul power also rose to the level of innate full soul power in an instant. Compared with his peers on the mainland, this qualification is completely among the top geniuses, but it is the worst in the current Shrek Academy. It's really that Oscar and Xiao Wu are too evil. There is no harm if there is no comparison, but even so, it made them feel very happy, especially Flender, who was leaning forward and backward with a smile. He really admired his own vision. The worst thing to find a few children is that they are born with soul. It seems that their Shrek is definitely about to rise. Fortunately, they didn't know about Oscar and Xiao Wu. If it wasn't because they didn't want Billion to disturb them often, their spirit power would have already broken through to level. The reason why Xiao Wu's soul power is only level 22 is because she has not broken through after reaching level 22, because if she breaks through, she will have no excuse to explain to Flender and the others. If the strength exceeds level 25, it will definitely arouse the suspicion of these teachers. Oscar not only communicated with the God of Cookery system once in the past 5 years, but wanted to trigger the task of finding the next piece of God level kitchen utensils, but the result was very cruel. The God of Cookery system did not move at all. It's like forgetting the task. But other tasks triggered quite a few, such as allowing Flender and other teachers to live in his house for a year, and the task rewarded a special part of the soul bone. This task caused Oscar to delay the improvement of his soul power for a year, but he was very happy when he thought that he could get rid of the pain of carrying a bastard on his back, and the soul bone was much more important than the soul power. And the location of this special part of the soul bone is Balingay, kneecap, and the attributes of this wave of Lingay soul bone are similar to those of the root soul bone of the tail. The special part of the soul bone, Balingay, comes with skills: God of Cookery Shield, front. God of Cookery Shield, front. The host can release a huge defensive shield in front of himself by using his soul power. The size of this shield can be freely controlled according to the host's soul power. The shield in front is finally there. He finally bid farewell to his bastard. This time it has become a double-sided bastard, bar it should be a complete God of Cookery shield. But Oscar didn't like Balingay's spirit bone very much. What he liked most was his elbows. With the spirit bones on his elbows, it would be so majestic and fuel efficient. As soon as the root soul bone of the tail is released, it is as if he is about to accept the 80 boards, and as soon as this wave of soul bone is released, it is as if he is about to kneel on the washboard. How could my majestic man, who is several feet tall, do such unmanly things as kneeling on the washboard? A lot of comments. Oh. End of this chapter. Chapter 99. Oscar 039 S Martial Soul. You have the ability to bring me 2 bags of instant noodles. No, hehe. At this time, a scene of Xiao Wu walking over with a bucket of instant noodles appeared in his mind. Big brother, do you want to come to the bucket of hot and sour beef noodles? Oh, big noodles. Oscar. In the past 5 years, Oscar has also completed other tasks, such as letting teachers like Flender dance a square dance together, and the task rewards the length of the first soul skill sausage by 1 centimeter. In order to let this group of bad old men dance in the square, Oscar specially held an unprecedentedly grand reception. He found a group of young and beautiful little girls, and these little girls were even worse than Xiao Cheng's girls. Flender and Xiao Waoqi are superficial people. They have always looked at meat and not people, so they were quickly overwhelmed by these little girls. Each of them blushed, hugging left and right. So Oscar asked these little girls to invite them to dance a dance. These rosy old men and 48 young and beautiful little girls presented a song of Little Apple to Oscar and Xiao Wu. You are my little apple. I can never love you too much. The red face warms my heart and lights up the flames in my life. You are my little apple. The pink picture is really hot and the eyes dare not look at it. Of course this is Xiao Wu's idea. and Oscar really wanted to see so many little girls dancing Little Apple, but Xiao Wu refused to let him watch and directly covered his eyes with his hands. Oscar also obediently didn't look at it because the scene of Xiao Wu bringing him instant noodles still appeared in his mind, and he didn't really want to use his Bolingay soul bone for kneeling instant noodles. And his mission was also happily completed, and the mission reward was also successfully obtained. That is, the length of his first soul skill, the big sausage, increased by 1 centimeter. It is worth mentioning that his soul ability has not changed because of the change of the soul beast. The first soul ability is the recovery sausage. This recovery sausage is not only very large, but also very effective. After eating his sausage, he could also restore a small amount of soul power and physical strength. Of course, such a little recovery ability is negligible for the Soul Emperor and Soul Sage, just like an elephant eating a small ant. Oscar was very happy that his sausage had increased by 1 centimeter, because his sausage was originally a big sausage. The length of his sausage was 15 centimeters, and the thickness was 5 centimeters. 15 centimeters is not very long for this thickness, so he is very satisfied with the length of the sausage. After all, no one wants their sausage to become short, thick and fat. Of course, the most important thing is that with every centimeter of the recovery sausage, the recovery ability of the sausage can be improved to a higher level. Originally, this big sausage could only quickly restore the physical strength of a 10th level Soul Master, but now it can recover more than his 15th level Soul Master's physical strength, which means that every centimeter of this big sausage can increase 5 level load. If you think that this big sausage has only this kind of ability, you are very wrong, because this sausage enhanced version of Wuhan also has a special ability, that is, he can control the hardness of the sausage he makes at will. Of course this includes the hardness of sausage produced by all soul skills. If you think about hardening the big sausage, it can be turned into an offensive weapon at any time. If you hold a big hard sausage in your hand and ask if you are afraid as an enemy, if your legs are not clamped, ascertain with each part shrunk. He wrote all the words upside down. And his most powerful thing is not the recovery sausage of the first soul ability, but the sausage of the second soul ability. The sausage that should have been very thin has become very thick and large. Of course, compared to the big sausage, it is still very small. That's 10 centimeters in length and 3 centimeters in thickness. The ability of this big sausage is of course the ability to detoxify, but the ability of this big sausage to detoxify is much stronger than that of the original small sausage. The big sausage can also be improved. As long as Oscar completes the task, the ability of the big sausage will be improved again. And after these 3 years of completing the task, the length of his big sausage has also reached 12 centimeters, which means that his current ability to detoxify the little sausage can completely resist the initial poison of Xiao Sansan. It's not even a problem to go to the Eye of Ice and Fire. So he also wanted to wait for the right opportunity to get out those few fairy herbs. Of course, he didn't do it for anything else. He didn't need to eat fairy grass to improve his soul power, and he didn't need to take such a big risk to improve his soul power. After all, he can rely on the meals he cooks for himself. The reason he wanted to go to Binghuo Liangayan was for a special fairy grass, that is Acacia Broken Heart Red. Acacia Heartbroken Red has a very special function among these fairy grasses. Apart from the effect of life and death, flesh and bones, and the effect of surpassing the world, it also has a very special function, that is, it can cover up the breath. This love sickness Heartbroken Red only recognizes one owner in its life, and only when picking it is thinking of the lover in its heart. Sincerely spit out a mouthful of blood and sprinkle it on the petals after the flower is taken off. As long as it is by the owner's side, it will never wither. And there is a very poignant legend about this love sickness Heartbroken Red. A young man who loves flowers cultivates flowers and trees, sings to flowers, and bury flowers with remnant red, which moves the world with love. A flower fairy descended to earth, and the two married privately, but the fairy was different. The god was furious, and the husband and wife separated. The young man was unhappy, and later learned that his beloved white peony flower was the incarnation of his beloved wife. He only needed to destroy the flower, to lose his fairy body, and relegate him to the mortal world to remarry with him. But although he loved his wife dearly, he couldn't bear to destroy the flowers. He wept over them day and night, and his tears dried up his heartbreak point. Love sickness is heartbroken, and two people have different paths. Although this legend is very poignant, Oscar doesn't care at all. A broken flower has made so many stories. As long as you have a good story, who can remember it, if it is so poignant? I don't know if others remember Oscar. Anyway, Oscar doesn't remember, so what if I do? After all, I love Xiaowu. Oscar wanted to get this lovesick heartbroken red to give to Xiaowu, to help Xiaowu cover up the aura of the soul beast, and to prevent Xiaowu's identity from being discovered by the titled Douluo. Of course, this matter needs to be discussed in the long run. Luo, it would be bad if he caught up with that old guy playing in the medicine garden, and it would be better to have less contact with the strong titled Douluo. Oscar thought about all the things and gains that had happened in the past 5 years, and showed a happy smile. His current soul power is at level 29, and he is only 9 years old. Compared with other little monsters, he is like a monster. He is really looking forward to meeting the other little monsters now. Ask for a ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 100. The arrival of the evil-eyed white tiger Dame Yubei. Even Ma Hongjian's current soul power is only 11th level, and he just got his first soul ring. One can imagine that Xiao Sanson, who is also the Shrek 7 Devils, is about the same as Ma Hongjian. Maybe he hasn't gone yet. What about not in college? After all, Holy Soul Village is just a small village. Even if he is 6 years old, that little Teo will not just go to Holy Soul Village for some awakening ceremony. Oscar now particularly wants to know the location of the second piece of kitchen utensils. It has been 5 years and there is still no clue at all. The god of cookery system seems to have forgotten this matter. Does it have to wait for all the Shrek 7 monsters to find out? Gather together. Can we trigger the message of the second god of cookery kitchen utensil? Wouldn't it be another 5 years? No, probably not. When Oscar thought of this, he felt a little uncomfortable, and when he was lying on the bed and was about to fall asleep, Li Yusong's voice rang in his ears. Oscar, come here quickly. Oscar was awakened immediately. Li Yusong called him, which made him feel very curious. Just now he released Xiao Kailin. Those students must be honest, and now there are still people who dare to do something wrong. Kailin is not a boa constrictor. Oscar came to Li Yusong's side with lazy steps. He rubbed his eyes and asked in a daze, who is the old man who wants to refund the registration fee again? See, I'll let Xiao Kailin swallow him directly. Li Yusong waved his hands quickly and said speechlessly, no, it's because the soul power of this examinee has reached level 25, and I asked you to lead him in. Oscar opened his eyes instantly when he heard this. There are only a handful of soul powers who can reach level 13 before they are 25 years old. Such geniuses are all top geniuses in Douluo continent, which made Oscar just fascinated. The confused appearance dissipated immediately, and he began to carefully look at the candidate in front of him. First of all, the candidate was a man. He looks a few years older than Oscar, about 11 or 12 years old, and the temperament of this candidate is very different from other candidates. His body reveals a natural nobility. His height is actually a bit taller than Oscar. Although Oscar is only 9 years old, he is now 1.6 meters tall. This man is actually half a head taller than him. At least his height must be more than 1.7 meters. This man was wearing white clothes. Although the clothes were white, there was still a layer of dust on them, and there were many scratches on them, but this could not conceal his noble aura at all. His shoulders are very broad, his appearance is particularly handsome, and there is a bit of fortitude in his handsomeness. His long golden hair hangs down his back and hangs down to his waist. The most noticeable thing is his eyes. They are a pair of evil eyes. 2 eyes actually have double pupils, and the dark blue eyes reveal a very cold temperament, which is a kind of heartfelt. It's cold, and if he takes a look at it, it will feel like it's been scratched by a sharp blade. If it weren't for the tattered clothes on his body, no matter where a man like him is, he would become a shining spot of light, attracting everyone's attention. The appearance also exudes the light of longing one by one. Of course, this light had been secretly watching Oscar before, but they didn't dare to stare at Oscar all the time, because Oscar's little snake was too huge and terrifying, and they were afraid that they couldn't bear it. And Oscar has such a beautiful, mischievous, and lovely girl as Aozhou. Since he has such a perfect partner, why would he fall in love with these village girls? So they settled for the next best thing, and they fell in love with this boy who seemed to be a down and out nobleman. They gave the examinee a sneak peek. Oscar showed an unfathomable smile when he saw this boy. This candidate was none other than Douluo Dalu, who was called the evil-eyed white tiger. Hey Douluo Dalu appeared in Shrek Academy, of course, because he was hunted down by his brother Davis. He had no choice but to come to the enemy kingdom Heavendao Empire, and he also came to Shrek Academy with a purpose. He just wanted to become a monster, surpass his older brother, and become the heir of the Star Luo Empire. Oscar didn't feel very surprised by Douluo Dalu's arrival, because Douluo Dalu should be coming soon after counting the days. If he doesn't come again, he will exceed the admission standard of Shrek Academy. But he was very curious about the sudden appearance of this down and out Prince Douluo Dalu, because he had looked at these people standing in line before, and he didn't notice this Douluo Dalu. If she had found out earlier, she would have caught this Douluo Dalu and trained him well. Why did he appear after just taking a nap? He felt very puzzled in his heart. Just as he wanted to ask Liu-san next to him, someone next to him answered the question in his heart. Standing next to Douluo Dalu was a kid about his age. This kid looked cunning. He stretched out a hand and said to Douluo Dalu, "Hey, I've changed places with you. I'm for position to pay. A gold soul coin will not be credited. Hurry up, I have to stand a few more positions." Douluo Dalu took out a golden soul coin from his bosom and handed it to the thug child. After taking a golden soul coin, the child ran to the back of the line and stood up. He knew this what's going on. This kid actually earns money by queuing up and changing seats. His little brain is really good. Looking at this cunning kid, Oscar couldn't help but admire in his heart. This kid looks like me. He is very talented in business. While Oscar was looking at Douluo Dalu was also looking at the Shrek student in front of him, who looked younger than him. He was very curious about this little student. This student looked only about 10 years old, and even being younger than him could enter Shrek Academy. So wouldn't his soul power be level 25? 9-year-old soul power level 25. This is probably a peerless monster. Even in their Star Luo Empire, there has never been such a monster genius. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth when he thought of this. This Shrek really deserves to be an academy that only accepts monsters. I'm really looking forward to Shrek Academy. I firmly believe that here, I can definitely surpass my brother. Oscar looked at Douluo Dalu, who was a little taller than him, showing that confident smile, which felt very interesting. Since this down and out little prince is so aggressive, shouldn't I hit him? Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how scary Shrek was. Ask for the first order. End of this chapter. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.